And I've got James in here. James, say hello.
Hello, everybody. I don't see, is the video coming through on YouTube yet? Let's see.
It will. It will. You don't have
Perfect.
to worry about it. There's
Okay.
latency, but we're live, so they're going to see everything you're and hear everything you're saying right now. You don't have to worry
There,
about it.
there
There's
goes it.
latency. Yep. But we're live. So, all right, brother. Hello to everybody in the chat. I see there's a lot of chat going on already.
Yep. Hello, everybody.
Yep, Roy. I see Ray Powell in here. Jaspreet's already in here.
Frame Voyager wants to come in.
And let's welcome Mr. Jeffrey Neville in here from South Carolina. A little warm down there, Jeff.
Yeah, it's too warm. Been close to 100.
That's what James is saying too.
They can have it. I don't like it that warm.
A little cooler here in Connecticut today. Expecting a little more rain, then the temperature goes right back up. But a high of about 70 here today, so it's actually pleasant.
I'm glad to see you survived the wedding.
Yep. Argzap's in here from California. A lot of California folks tend to drop in. Good to see you, sir. Glad you're up early and watching us. All right, a lot going on in the news. I hope everybody watched Vahagan's live stream yesterday. It was very interesting, and we're going to stray away from that a little bit today and go into uh, me either making a full. Again, I'll be a zero or a hero on some of the predictions that I've made. But I hope everybody that's in here right now had a chance to check out Grays of Westminster, their video that they dropped early this morning. Very interesting. Very interesting. It's almost as if they're listening to us. It seems Nikon has dropped, let's see, what do they call it? The market view, product strategy, and KPIs. I'm going to pull that up on the screen here in a few minutes once we get everybody in here. Talk about that. And man, we have hit it on the head with what Nikon's strategy going forward is. Another thing I'll mention again, hero or zero, you guys can call it later, but I think here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to see another body released, at least another body.
Announcement.
And we'll talk about what we think that may be. But based on everything I'm seeing in the marketing strategy and on Grays this morning, that we kind of hit that on the head with what it might be. So looking very promising here right now. Let's see. Mr. V seems very disturbed by the camera sniffer. Yes, he was. That's why he made his videos. No doubt about that. Getting recommendation. This is Jaspreet. Let me throw it up here real quick. Getting recommendation of Jared video under this video. 5 years old video titled "Is Nikon About to Die?" Well, we can answer that with absolute confirmation that no, they are not about to die now. Uh, is it Aho Matthew? Uh, let's see. Uh, why you don't have a button to send some donation? Because I don't have enough subscribers yet. I'll just say Matthew. I don't have enough subscribers yet. I'm a small channel, man. I am growing, and I thank everybody that has subscribed. I got a lot of new subscribers over the weekend, and I'm really happy about that. And I hope they enjoyed the show. But we have yet to hit the 1,000 subscriber mark, and that's when monetization kicks in. I'm just short of 500, which is another milestone because it allows me to do a little more with the channel, put up polls and things like that through the week, and keep you guys informed of what I'm thinking about and what we'll be talking about. But that's where we're at right now. I wish I was monetized. Again, that's not my goal. My goal really is to have fun and talk about cameras. So, but thank you very much. I appreciate the thought of why can't we? And Miss Amanda, had a great time seeing my lovely stepdaughter this weekend and her husband. Yeah, we could do a PayPal, but again, that's not the whole point of the channel. When that happens, that's great, but I'll just wait for the monetization and get the pennies on the dollar from YouTube when that happens.
Not about the money at this point.
No.
Here's a comment. Nikon Download Center has a small firmware update for the 70
Yep,
to 200. And if you
I
want to
saw
know
that.
what's in that without having to go look at it, Grays covers that in their latest video they put out early this morning. But again, I encourage everybody to go check out that video. It's confirmation that we're on the mark. Everything we've been talking about, Nikon's just actually regurgitated in a market strategy plan that just, I guess, just came out. Now, I'll pull that up on the screen here in a little bit. I think I need to probably drop a link or somehow figure out how to get that plan in the hands of people that might want it and want to look at it. But we're going to discuss it. Here we go. This is the topic of the day. Although we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, Jaspreet, because I think this is a YouTube a clickbait topic right now. None of the cases that have ever gone up in patent infringement were settled in a day. So we're looking at 2, 3 years down the road before this is actually settled. However, I will say Nikon is not going to pull RAW out of the camera. I'm
Mhm.
confident of that. And I'll also say that I think this is where Nikon and others that may decide to jump in the case themselves will finally defeat this idea patent. And that's all it is. It's an idea. It has no tangible uh, ability to infringe on it unless you use the exact algorithm that they actually developed when they did it. So we'll have to wait and see. But remember, Into Tico Raw actually is the company that developed this compression algorithm. So they're a big part of this as well. I see this going away. I mean, as
Yeah.
Khan said over on their video this morning, there are three outcomes. One, Nikon wins, and we're finally rid of this stupid, which will cause a patent review to see if it's even viable. Two, Nikon decides not to fight it and do like others, and they just pay a licensing fee. Or three, they hold on to it and get to a point where they've lost the battle and Red wins, and Nikon's forced to remove it or pay a licensing fee. I don't think Nikon's removing it. You can forget
Mhm.
about that. That's not going to happen. I think Raw is here to stay with Nikon, and it's only going to get better as time goes on. So that's my thoughts on it, and we'll talk about it here in a minute. But Nikon putting ProRes RAW and Z9 will also having in RAW. Red always get provoked when it hears ProRes RAW internal recording. Yes, they do. And you know what? They have actually. How about Canon? How about Canon? You know, Canon just dropped internal 10 bit at least in their lower tier camera, the R7. So is that going to cause some concern with Red as well? Are they going to drop RAW in there as a firmware update? I don't know, but it's going to be interesting, and I think we need not worry about it. That's my thoughts. What do you guys have to say? What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I think you could flip a coin on this one. I guess Apple, was part of a lawsuit with Red as well, and they lost. I don't know the specifics of it, but they weren't one that was they were not willing to pay, and they lost. Um, I don't know. I mean, how much of this is it's kind of, I think, what I think of is like, you buy a car today, you have the collision avoidance stuff and you have the, uh, where your cruise control, can slow down before have two car lengths behind the car. And maybe, let's just say, make up a name and say, oh, Volvo came out with it first. Well, every car maker has it. So does everybody did the whoever came out with it first suing the other car companies because they put the same technology in their car? If they are, you haven't heard about it. It's like,
No, you're
it,
absolutely right. And I'm glad you brought up cars because this goes all the way back to the development of the automobile when there was a patent on carriages and the patent holder was milking everybody dry. Carriage makers, he was a big railroad magnate. I can't remember his name right now. and he was fighting in U.S. patent court over infringement when automobiles were developed, saying it was the same thing. It's a carriage and blah blah blah. GM at the time and Dodge, the Dodge brothers, I guess they determined that they would just pay a licensing fee rather than fight it. However, Henry Ford said, "I'm not paying it." Henry Ford wound up winning, and I can't give you all the ins and outs of how that took place, but he fought the idea battle, meaning you can't patent an idea.
Right.
It has to be tangible. There has to be something there that's infringed upon. And if we can patent ideas, that was part of their defense or fight. If you can patent an idea, then what's next? And that's absolutely right.
Yep.
And I think that's the way Nikon will go about this. I think that Nikon knew what they were doing. Come on, they're a big company. They did their due diligence, and they did it. They decided to put RAW in the camera. So now I think that they've got their ducks in order, and we may see a different strategy in fighting this patent this time. So hopefully that's the way it comes out.
Right.
But again, I'm not worried about it. RAW's not going away uh, from Nikon. That's forget about that. That's not going to happen, even if it comes down to having to pay some kind of a licensing fee. But I don't think that's going to be the case either. And before I'll let you weigh in, James, I want to thank Jay Goolsby Photography. He's the one that sent me the spreadsheet on the Nikon market view, and it's really interesting. A lot of good points in there that we'll get to here in a minute. But James, I'll let you give your 10 cents worth on this red issue.
Yeah, I mean, real quick. I mean, it could just be the precedence or SOP for lawyers to do this. As you see, Jaspreet made a point to the Kinfinity Mavo. It's something to do with the law and the way it's announced. And they may do this even though they know they don't have a case. But it has to be legally put on the record that, hey, we are aware that you did this. Okay, now let's go dig deeper and see if they did it right or wrong. We may never hear from it again. So you never know. I'm not a lawyer, but I think we treat it with a grain of salt. I mean, it's out there. Nikon's got lawyers. They know, they're no dummy to this. They're going to put something in a flagship camera, and 6 months later they have to pull it back. That would be a ship sinker. That'd be
it would. And small corporations do the same thing, not just large corporations. They do their due diligence. They know when they take the step, they've measured everything to determine whether they're going to sink or swim. So again, I think Nikon knew what they were doing, and we'll just have to wait and see how it turns out.
Right.
I'm sure they made sure that in working with Tico Raw, that it was done in a different manner that achieved the same results, so that it wasn't a blatant copy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Albert talking about the Z9, if it was ready to ship, no one would trash it on YouTube, since channels may generate income by recommending the camera dealers. Yeah, affiliate links. I don't completely agree with that, because again, Jared Poland did fine, with his affiliate links, I'm sure, which he had up, which seems to me to be, strange, since you were going to talk bad about a camera. And he said good, but he also said bad in his review. So I don't know. I think they're willing to say what they say and then hope that people will use their affiliate links. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why anybody would watch a review that was terrible about a product and then use their affiliate links to go buy it. But anyway, this is YouTube. Let's see. Continue. Since the Nikon Z9 is unavailable, YouTube channels better served by promoting other camera makers over Nikon. Well, that makes sense. Now I'll go along. That's basically what I was saying. So maybe I should have read the second part to your comment, Albert. But yeah, you're right. You're right. Jaspreet, if Nikon only had in RAW, and maybe they haven't advertised it as RAW, but something like hybrid log, then maybe we wouldn't be seeing a lawsuit by Red. It's possible, but let's face it. Look, let's think about this for a second. Red is out to make money, and you know what? If for whatever reason you were granted a patent, no matter how bad it may be, the patent, that is, to the rest of the community or to everybody else, and you have a chance to derive income from that, hey, take it as long as you can. Going back to the Ford issue, the man had received millions of dollars, and this is back in, what, the 1800s, the turn of the century back then. He received tons of money in licensing fees until somebody challenged it and beat it. So could Red be doing the same thing? Hey, I'll take the money as long as I can. Eventually, I know that this is going to go away or whatever. I don't know. I'm simplifying it in the best Kentuckian that I have. So, uh,
And like Long Rider's comment,
Yeah.
come around in a big Sony truck to pick up all your Z9s with illegal software.
exactly.
I think they're going to need a bigger truck.
Find it interesting that while you're handling this case for Red was one of the attorneys for Oakley for 12 years. Lots of history there with the attorney and Jim Gennard. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely, Miles, man. Which again, Red may see the end of this patent. And they may know that as well. I don't know why. Well, I guess they had to jump on it. I don't know. Maybe this would have been better off just left alone. But I think Nikon's got their ducks in a row and they're ready to, prove this case and maybe get a review of this patent again. Jess Bree. Interpix also have a patent in EU for Tico Raw as far back as 2006, 2007, and compared to Red, they have a well detailed patent. Red patent definition is too broad to even be valid. Yeah, and I think that's the big hope is, if Nikon does this and Red loses that patent, it gets reviewed, and they lose, then watch out because all the camera manufacturers will be doing this. So I also heard a while back that Canon has a patent for cine camera bodies, and I don't know if that's true, but if any of you know, let me know. That's another one that would have to be reviewed. I think. How do you patent a camera concept body or whatever? So anything in a boxy, and how did everybody else beat it? If that's true. Ah, no, Long Rider is his comment here.
The chat is rolling.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. And as usual, I'm way behind. Z9s are pretty heavy. You better wear protection. Miles Man talking about it. Uh, yes, rules are different. James, thanks for the comment there, buddy. Rules are different in U.S. to overseas, and that's exactly what we're talking about here: is beating a U.S. patent.
We need a patent lawyer.
Uh, Yeah, it's so true, Jasper Eaton. Since you made that comment, I'll just tell you, man, quit worrying about this because, yes, I don't think this is going to be an issue in the long run. At worst case, Nikon decides to pay a license fee. Worst case, but I don't even think that's going to happen.
But it shows how important technology is, right? So if someone gets the lead on a certain piece of technology, it goes crazy. Oh, that camera has this tech. It goes rampant on the internet, right?
Well, yeah, and I thought that the patent office actually had protection in there so that you couldn't actually patent an idea that would affect everyone.
Right.
Maybe a product or something like that, yes, and how you actually develop it, make it, or whatever, the ingredients or the technology that goes into it, yes, but not the idea of shooting raw in camera. That's just an idea.
Right. You can't patent a camera.
Yeah.
Just camera.
I can see patenting the compression ratio or algorithm that you used. I can see that so that nobody can step on your toes. But we'll see what happens.
For the new folks, I saw one or two chats about who we are, what do we do, what's this channel all about. So
I haven't seen that yet, but absolutely. Hopefully, I'll get to it here in a minute.
I don't think we know who we are. We're still trying to figure that out.
We're just an opportunity for you guys in the chat to be able to jump in here and
Yep.
finally have a voice, because where else can you go that anybody even recognizes your comment? So that was the whole idea behind starting this channel up and doing it live. Uh,
Yeah, everybody gets opinion and voice, and no biases on this channel. What's that sign
No.
back there, Jeffrey?
No. That was there when I bought the house. I didn't
Oh,
put
yeah.
that there. Wink, wink.
Terry added to.
I'm seeing it in stereo.
Yeah.
Israel, that's great, man.
I'll tell you though, if you want to get a 500 PF lens, now's the time to do it and save yourself $300.
Yeah, as long as they're available. Yep.
Yeah.
Has the 500 PF come out on the hit list for discontinuing?
Not yet. Not yet.
Yes, Charles, you are
what-
right, and I'm concerned about that, because as I continue to grow, it's going to be even more and more difficult to give everybody a voice. But we'll definitely do our best. So, but you're right. All right. So Mozman says that this market view was on Nikon Rumors a couple of weeks ago, and that may be the case. But I haven't been actually following Nikon Rumors as much. I just check in. But to be honest, I just can't get into the forums anymore. It just aggravates me with everybody. They're I shouldn't say stupidity, but often it is. With things like red, Nikon's going to die. These are Nikon shooters in the forum. Nikon's going to have to relent, and over things like that. Nikon's not building another camera. Well, I beg to differ. All right, so I can't go over there and dig into it anymore. I just check the highlights and then move on just to see if Peter's come up. Peter has often insight into the rumors with Nikon that hang on a second, that a lot of us would like to have. So I do check in. But let's see. Let's see. Just looking at some of the comments before I jump over.
Yeah,
here.
they're going everywhere on the comments.
Yeah.
All right.
You
so
need,
you guys
you need to be one of those speed talkers, Chuck, like on the
Exactly.
commercials.
yeah, and with my southern accent, that's not the case, is it? It takes me 10 minutes to say hello. All right. So let me drop this in here real quick. You guys may not be able to see it, but we'll just talk about a few of the key points here. I think it's very important that we look at it, because it's everything that we've been saying. Okay. So I'll just read a couple of things here in case you can't see it or you don't have it available to look at. So this is the product strategy and KPIs. The digital camera interchangeable lens market is shrinking as the replacement of entry models for recording purposes with smartphones is progressing. Okay, we knew that. Now, that should lead you to the comment about Nikon's not going down the road of a small Costco camera. At least that's what I dragged from this. However, greater demand for video expression, growing market for mid to high end models for pro and hobbyists, assuming the market scale of stable 3 million units by FY 2025. We jump down here to the next box and look at it. Mid high end market, more young photography enthusiasts and broader use cases for video. Ooh, that's interesting. The number of use on Instagram has nearly doubled over the past 6 years. I did a video on this 6 years ago, talking about not 6 years, almost 4 years ago, talking about video and cameras. Consumers in their 20s or younger increasingly motivated to purchase the DCIL, or the digital camera interchangeable lens, for better pictures than a smartphone and use on social media. The number of users motivated by video shooting has more than tripled over the last 6 years. So anybody looking for a stills only camera out of Nikon, or for
Good
them to
luck.
continue to go down the path of
Yeah.
marketing cameras just for stills, forget about it. Nikon's telling you right here, this is their research, Nikon's research. All right.
Yeah.
Mid to
They,
high end models for pro hobbyists. Focus on mid high end models for pro hobbyists. Strengthen products and services responding to young hobbyists and video needs. Strengthening the earnings base by expanding the lenses lineup and promotion of fan building. Wow. Everything we've been talking about. Let me drag this other, if I can. Here we go. Drag it over here. This is the next page on here. Imaging products business strategy. Expand the possibilities for visual expression and acquire overwhelming support from all generations of fans around the world. We've been saying that. The young market is the market to tap into. Everybody keeps talking about, no, they don't have any money. I understand they're impoverished countries and things like that. But Nikon has to stay up, keep up with the Joneses and the market itself. And the market is demanding this because the young shooters are overwhelmingly jumping to Sony. Why? Maybe it's the marketing from Nikon. I don't know. But Nikon is listening, and Nikon has been listening, and their plan seems to confirm what we've been saying. Uh, Digital cameras concentrate management resources and high value added products and mirrorless cameras. Meet expectations of pro hobbyists and raise ASP, which I don't know. You guys can jump in 20%. Bolster the Z mount system by expanding the lens lineup, 50 plus lenses and 2 plus lens tie ratio. The lens tie ratio is every camera purchase, they want everybody to look at it, be purchasing at least 2 lenses for that camera, which is typical when you buy into a camera brand or whatever. Um, Appeal to video creators by strengthening video functions. Strengthen remote operation and automatic image capture features to meet professional needs. Focus on licensing business. I don't understand that. And is this licensing from externals for things in camera? I don't know. Um, 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 um. So
I
pro
think I
hobbies.
think they're going to license. They're going to license so that maybe you get some of the higher end third party lens manufacturers to be able to do some Z mount lenses.
And that's what everybody's been screaming about. And I'm
Yeah.
glad you clarified that, Jeff. I think you're absolutely right. And that's been one of the concerns is no third party support. Although we're seeing some, but where's Sigma? You know, is Sigma part of that third party yet? No. And a lot of people want Sigma. A lot of people want Tamron. So I think we'll see Tamron sooner than we see Sigma. But anyway, yeah. So they're looking at all these things. Long Riders comment here. Let me drop this off real quick. Don't care for vloggers, but Sony going in hot and heavy for that market. Yes, they are and have been. And Canon has now. Just released a few power zoom lenses. Nikon needs at least one option. Users are free advertising when they vlog on YouTube. Absolutely. And if I could get Mark Cruz on here, I know he's not going to let the cat out of the bag, but I would be asking questions like that based on what we know Nikon has projected here in the market view. What is their plan? What is their plan to reach out to and draw in more young users that are doing all this video content? And you know, maybe that's not letting anything out of the bag as far as cameras go, which of course he wouldn't talk about, I'm sure. But I'd just like to know their strategy or more fidelity on what they're stating in their market view and how do they plan to reach out to new shooters.
Well, I think a comment that they had in their plan there as well, which is something that's been hammered about a lot on this channel, is that they're acknowledging that they have to flow down the Z9 technology, especially regarding the AF, into the low end models.
And they make that point in this market
Yeah,
view as well, talking
yeah,
about bringing it down to the lower models. So the
yeah.
new cameras that come out, a lot of people are going to start complaining. Nikon shooters, why did I buy a Z9 when I can get almost the same
Right.
thing in a lower priced model? Well, that's just the market. That's the way it goes. And yes, maybe they did bring out the Z9 first to counter the A1 and the Canon R3, R1, the mythical R1, which will happen. You know it will, but but you know the old days of sitting on that flagship for 2 years before you introduce another model, that's gone in this market. So the idea that the old timers, again, you go back over and you'll get beat up over a Nikon rumor saying, well, they're not going to release another model. It would kill the sales of the Z9.
Uh,
No, it won't.
No.
But
I mean that's not true, because you can you it doesn't that doesn't hold with the facts, because Sony's lineup, you could argue that most of their camera bodies have 85 plus percentage of the AF capabilities of the A1, and the A1 is selling without any problems. So, that's baloney. That the advantage that they have that's hurting Nikon is that pretty much any model that you buy of theirs is going to have pretty consistent autofocus from model to model with not much variation. And that's where Nikon has to get. And the sooner they get there, the better off they're going to be,
yep.
and the healthier that the brand is going to be.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, I'm a lot happier this morning after seeing this. Mazman, I wish I'd have seen it a couple of weeks ago. We'd have brought it up then, but and then seeing Grays this morning, basically parroting a lot of what we've been saying over here on the channel. So, and then seeing that Nikon is responding to, they at least know what's going on, and they're trying to do something about it.
Bayou Josh is in the house.
Yes,
Hey, hey, Josh. Hello, hello.
how you doing, Josh? Good to see you, brother. I hope you had a great time, or are you still out in Alaska? I don't know.
No, no frostbite, I hope.
Yeah, I saw
Quit worrying,
Matt.
Jaspreet. Quit worrying, man. It's going no. This is going nowhere. Raw is here to stay. I'm telling you. There we go, Josh. Doing great. Just got back from Alaska yesterday. I'm sure you had a great time up there. What a beautiful place to go shoot, man.
That must have been wonderful.
Now we got to put pressure on you to put out some outstanding video footage.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Uh, there you go. B&H, the mecca for camera people, or not just camera, everything
Yeah,
people.
right.
So,
So people know the Sony name because they make so many things.
yeah,
Um, Matthew made a point that Sony did come out with a brand new camera, but Sony already knew that I'm sorry, a brand new cell phone. So Sony already knew that cell phone wasn't going to sell because it's so expensive. What they did was they created a new camera technology that's in that phone that they're going to turn around and license it to other phone manufacturers.
yeah.
That proves Sony's point. They're such a big company. They have the horsepower and the technology to come up with those things. Why do you think they make so many chips for all those cameras? Because they're good at it.
Well, well, that's a whole different division of
Right.
Sony. That's
Right.
a lot of people get confused and think that they're developing camera
Right.
sensors for Sony, and then other companies like Nikon just walk in and say, "What do you got on the shelf?" "Yeah, I want one
Right.
of those." No, that's not how it works. They build sensors, and they may
Right.
develop sensors as well, but anybody coming in and ordering a sensor or chips or processors or whatever, they're buying their specs. So anyway, I know I didn't say that very eloquently,
Right.
but
Yeah.
here's another point that I keep making, and a lot of the old timers say, you're crazy, or how do you know this? Well, you have to be around. How many people actually hang out at all, or frequent the younger generation, 20 and below? Not many. and but I do because of my stepson, motocross, and some other things. I'm around them all the time. And this comment is exactly what I've been talking about. You got a bunch of young kids hanging around the Sony counter.
Yep.
Why? Because Sony is catering to that. They're marketing
Yep.
to that.
Yep.
Get them
Main
while
part.
they're young. It's easier for Sony because, like everybody's saying, Sony has a big name. Everything they've played with as kids has got a Sony on it. So uh, that's been my complaint. How does Nikon counter that? I don't know. Look at Canon's strategy and see what they're doing. But Canon seems to be
Yep.
doing okay with it as well. Nikon hasn't historically. So all the old timers that don't want to hear this, and hey, I'm up in that category as well, but don't want to hear about it. You don't have a choice anymore. If you want Nikon to continue with the technology developments in cameras for stills, then you've got to accept the video that goes along with it. And talking to James before we started the stream, James was out shooting this
Yep.
morning.
This
What'd you
morning.
do, James? You experimented with what?
Yeah. So I have a Z9 and I've never shot video. So I went in there and set my settings. I went to a air show this morning, a couple classic World War II bombers. And I was amazed at how easy it was for me to just flip the switch, boom, I'm shooting video. I went with 4K video, didn't have a lot of memory cards. It was a bright sunny day, but first time shooting video, it's amazing. I can't wait to look at the data and maybe put something on YouTube. But it was so simple for me to hit that button. I'm doing my high speed stills, flip the switch. I can quickly get over to the video mode. It was really a good experience.
Yeah, it is. The interface between stills and video on the camera is fantastic. It's the flip of a switch, and I actually played with that myself this weekend at the wedding, and I'm going to show some of that footage that I took.
Hello, team.
Nothing super creative or anything like that,
Yeah.
but you get to look at what came out of the camera because all I did is render it basically.
Yeah.
What's the point of spending a small fortune on a camera if you're not going to use half of it? It's just the price we're going to have to pay. It's just like, people when air conditioning was no longer just an option, it was standard. People that didn't want it in cars, you had to pay for it. You couldn't buy a car without it once that started. So it's just one of those things in life. We may not like it, but that's the
Right.
way it is. And
But
it pays the bills. The bottom line is corporations need things that pay the bills. And for all those that think
yep.
Nikon can make a fortune selling a stills only camera, I beg to differ. I don't think that would happen.
But
T
once
Mid,
again,
good to see you in here.
that's why Nikon they need to come out with more bodies for more options. Not everybody wants the Z9; it's too much camera. They may want that
Yes.
smaller camera with some of those features. They need to market to everybody, but they also need to tell us what's their roadmap for camera bodies, right? What is
Yeah.
going on? What is going on?
Nobody does that. They just leak
Yep.
specs. The manufacturers do, and
Part of
Nikon
the
is the
game.
least of the manufacturers to leak specs, and
Yep.
that's yeah. That's a marketing strategy actually, and again, I
It
think
is.
that they could be better at it. Another thing to remember: Japanese business culture is very different, and it is. It certainly is. They all help each other and work together to keep the market Japanese controlled. I don't know if I could completely confirm that or agree, but I think there's merit to your statement, Long Rider. I really do. And somebody had mentioned a week ago talking about how Canon and Nikon talk, and I guarantee you they do. They may not talk absolute specifics, but they talk. Hence, Canon dropping two new bodies uh, just recently, and I think Nikon's poised to do the same thing. Whether it's one or two, I don't know. And if you go over and listen to Grays and listen to what Con has to say about an APS-C camera, if Nikon is dropping an APS-C camera, it's not going to be the typical Costco on the shelf kind of camera. It's going to be a higher end APS-C. He says he doesn't think it'll be like the uh, D500, but it's going to be higher end or better specs than what you find in the R7. Not just to you know point a finger at Canon, but the buffer on that camera is not fantastic. So anyway, Nikon may drop a higher end APS-C, but that may be as far as they go with the APS-C market for right now. At least that's my thought. And we don't know whether it'll be APS-C, but something's coming, folks. It's coming.
I was um, I was looking at some of Nikon's specials this morning, and I think it's Photo Me, Ike. You can correct me, Chuck, if I'm wrong. That he always talks about, you got to have something there for the beginner, the entry level person. You want to get them hooked, get them into the brand, so they can grow into the brand. Uh, well, I'll tell you, they've got the Z50 with two lenses, the 50 to 250 and the 16 to 50 lens for $11.99.
Yeah.
That's not any more than what a kid is paying for an iPhone.
You're right.
So to me, when he now, when he brings that up, which is a good point, they have that camera right now. You could buy that camera right now and get two lenses for $1,200, and it's gonna beat any iPhone out there, And there you go. There's your camera body.
Yep.
Yep, it's amazing. It's smaller. The Z50 is an amazing little camera.
Yep. Another question is how many are using a digital body for video when 90% or more of video on social and YouTube, social media and YouTube is done with phones. I agree, but with 90%, but those aren't the creatives that are out there. And there are creatives that want to post and use Instagram and YouTube and everything else. And I think that's what Nikon research brought up is, for those that want to expand beyond the phone, and there are a lot of people that want to because there are still limitations with the phone, and they're going to buy into a brand or a lower tier body to do that. I'll counter this also with how much of it is. What are the little the hero camera, or whatever the shoot
GoPros.
GoPros and
DJI.
yeah, all those cameras. So how much of that 90% is actually those cameras? So you got a lot of people that are doing all these sports and things, and they want to post on YouTube or whatever. So anyway, yeah, the camera phones are competing with the interchangeable lens manufacturers now, no doubt about that. But Nikon seems to have addressed that and said we acknowledge that, so we're not going down that path to compete with them. So I don't know. There's so much to look at when you start talking about the camera market and everything that's going on.
Mazman makes a great point. You buy a phone, if you buy it at Best Buy, wherever you buy it, Verizon, you have payment plans. Well, come up with one for cameras.
Yep.
$80 a month or whatever for so many months. And, there's no reason why they couldn't do something like that.
Yeah, Best Buy credit card is not cheap.
Yeah. But again, I go back to everybody keeps saying we're in a recession. All the inflation is through the roof and everything else. But somehow, some way, people keep buying products. Okay, you might not. The people that make that comment, I understand. Everybody's in a different financial situation. You maybe can't, but there are plenty of people that can and do. And you know, I I think. Uh, as Mosman says here, they have said what their roadmap is for camera bodies. They're not making entry level bodies. Their bodies will compete with other prosumer and pro offerings. And that's exactly what they seem to be doing, which is why, if here in a couple of weeks we get a rumor or an announcement about an APS-C camera from Nikon, don't expect it to be the bottom of the line camera. It's going to be a higher end APS-C, I think.
No, I think if they were gonna do what was rumored way back when for a Z30, something that was going to be cheaper, they would have done it by now. I think their marketing strategy changed since when all that talk was going on, and I don't really think that's any viable for them anymore.
I agree with you, Hero Shots. You're exactly right. And those cameras may get updates, but
They're ready to buy it right now. They're out there.
yep.
It seems like the lens, a lot of the lenses are in stock. Um,
Yep.
yeah,
The 1 to 400's in stock. I'm glad you brought that up. For those that are wanting that lens, now's the time to jump on it before they're gone again. But yeah, it's in stock. I checked a couple of places.
some good sales going on.
Yeah, they
So,
got really good sales right now. Even if you want to, like I said, if you got DSLRs and you're in that market, buy your F glass now while you can get it on sale while they're still making it.
T Mid, we keep talking about doing just that. We'll see how everybody's set financially when it rolls around again, but we're talking about it, trying to get a big group out there for WPPI. I already got the green light from Mama. I can't believe it. She's all about, yeah, I want to go to Las Vegas. So we're going to try. We'll keep talking about it. Be nice to get out there face to face with all the people that we just either talk through video or just chat in forums. Really nice to get out and shake everybody's hand and meet everybody.
There's a
Uh,
small town out near there where Ike did his photo shoot, right? Is that right there in
yep,
Vegas?
yep, yes, it is. Uh, yeah, James, we can stream live. Of course, I'll stream live out there. Of course, man.
I
There's
mean,
no doubt
anybody can go
about
there,
that.
right? Anybody can
Huh?
go there, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
What you gotta do is do a tag team with Vahagan and have a Vahagan/Chuck's talks seminar.
Yep. There you go again. So should Nikon enter that market? That's exactly what Nikon's saying. That market is full right now, and we're just going to look at the higher end uh, prosumer and pro hobbyist camera bodies. Yeah, Roy saying GoPros are starting to suffer from smartphones. Well, everything will. Have you seen the Sony exec talking about by 2025? I think he said, maybe sooner. I can't remember, that smartphones will have better resolution than camera bodies and whatnot. He knows something I don't know, but I can't imagine. I saw some camera phones at the wedding the other night when all the lights were out. The DJ had all the colored lights going, blah, blah, blah. And people were not happy with the content or what it was capturing or how it was capturing. But you can bet they shared it on social media anyway, which takes us to another conversation if we wanted to go there. How important is the noise in video? To them, not at all. Uh, let's see. More attractive across the line to secure more new photographers, and that's one of the difficult things to do, and I think that's what they're trying to do, and maybe their strategy is right, maybe it isn't, but time is going to tell. But it seems that they want out of the entry level camera market. And you know what, Nikon, or not Nikon, but Canon and Sony are going to give them a glimpse on how that's going right now. Canon just brought out entry level in the R10, but let's see how well it sells and everything else. I don't know what Sony's going to do. Sony's quiet right now. It's almost scary how quiet Sony is.
Let's see how fast those Canons make it to eBay as used items because people didn't like them.
Yeah, here you go. And you're absolutely right, Moz man. That's what I keep
Yep.
saying is,
Gas.
it doesn't matter. People are addicted to their hobbies and this and that, and they're definitely going to continue to buy. How? I don't know. And people will ask me, well, how are they going to afford it? I have no idea. But you know what? They afford drugs when, they're addicts.
Hey, I shoot up Nikon lens cleaning fluid every day.
There you go. And Roy just brings up a good point. There's so many ways to counter that comment about, they can't afford it, inflation, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, new piece of gear, then I put off buying a car for another year or whatever.
I would hate to buy a car right now.
So that goes right into the Z9. The Z9's discounted $1,000 above, below the R or the A1. So it's very appealing to people to stretch their budget, to go well over their budget, because $5,500 is not near what 6,500 is in their mind. But a lot of people didn't. Even 5,500 was a stretch, and they're waiting for the Z9 in a smaller body. And I do not mean the exact camera in a smaller body, but very comparable with
Yeah.
specs to the Z9. But the Z9, well, autofocus is not. We can't assign that to the Z9. Autofocus in general for all the cameras that are coming out has to be competitive with everything that's out there, and especially considering that Canon just did it with their R7 and R10. So that technology is going to spread down to the lower models, no doubt about it.
Right.
Anything coming out now has to have that
Was there rumor?
because YouTube made it a must.
Yeah. Were there rumors for that R7 and R10, or just boom, it showed up?
It just showed up. There was hints.
Kind of showed up. Yeah.
There were hints that two bodies were on the radar, but didn't know, everything until they actually dropped it. And a lot of people in the Canon camp are very happy with what they see for those bodies. And everybody's going to complain, well, it only does this. Well, it's not a $6,500 camera. Of course, it only does that. But I go back to the Build-A-Bear. Everybody wants to walk into the camera store, the Build-A-Bear camera store, and grab everything new and put it into a tiny body and have it work well and have it cost less than $1,000. Yeah, everybody would like that. Mr. Photo Me Ike in here. Ike, you got a link if you want to join.
I spent some time looking at the new Fuji X H2S at $24.99, and although it's more than I would pay for APS-C, the thing is, if you were someone that wanted to be to shoot, well, I shoot birds, so crush me, but I shoot other things too, folks. But let's just say you're a Fuji guy, you want to shoot birds, so you buy that body for $24.99. It shoots 40 frames a second. And they have a 150 to 600 millimeter f5.6 to 8 lens, which is the equivalent of 225 to 900 millimeters for a 35 millimeter camera for $2,000. So for $4,500, you could buy that body and buy that one lens, and you could shoot birds to your heart's content. So it'll be interesting to see if only the Fuji faithful buy that camera or whether they steal people from other brands.
Yeah, Omar Gonzalez called it the flagship, Fuji flagship.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the camera. It looks really nice.
It's a good deal when you look at the capabilities. It's just a matter of, yeah, you can buy some full frame cameras when you're up in that price range too, but you buy that body and that one lens. If you're a birder or sports guy, you don't really need another lens for that.
It shows that there must be a need for that APS-C style. It's cheaper, yes, and people still think they're getting that extra reach.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yaman, you're right. And computational photography is what's here and moving forward. No doubt about it. Sony exec is going to go missing for saying that.
Heard it here first.
You heard it from Oz, man. By you, Josh. Already tried and failed in the action cam market. Yeah, they did. And Matthew Card brought that up as well. It is a tough market, but Nikon was smart. Get out fast. If you're losing money, you're bleeding. Put something on that wound. Get out fast.
The flip camera, they're coming back. No, remember those?
Yeah. I think the one thing that Nikon messed up on was when they came out with the little series of 3 different cameras, different focal lengths.
Yep.
It did a little bit different. I think that would have done well for a while, but even they weren't going to last forever.
And the cell phones shut them down quick.
Uh,
I am Hassan. Welcome.
all right, man, got lots of.
Ah, is he in South Carolina or is he from South Carolina? Good
All right,
Jeffrey, where's
plenty
your
of
afternoon,
little
lot of
palm
everyone.
tree
comments,
symbol?
folks.
Your little palm tree sticker.
There you go. You can do a get together with Hassan.
Hey, I'm here. I tell my wife I don't have a life. I just take pictures and work on my computer.
Then we don't pay the birds, right, Jeffrey?
Oh, I tell you.
Observing all the excitement of new cameras from the sidelines. I'm interested but not biting at the moment. Did get excited and bought myself a used Sonic L478 this morning. Great. That's
Never heard of
great.
that one.
Yeah, I have the L478. It's actually a great little light meter.
Oh, light meter.
Yes, sir.
Got it.
For all the studio photogs. Well,
Yeah,
it can be used for ambient light and everything. You can use it outside as well, but it's a big studio piece.
yeah. Saconic's been around forever too.
Yeah, in South Carolina until Friday.
Oh,
Mr. Hassan. Southampton, England. Well, sir, welcome. Nice evening over there for you, I suppose. Did you catch the Grays of Westminster video this morning? Just curious because it really talks a lot about everything that we've been talking about. There you go, Jeff. I guess you're responding to him now.
yeah. Myrtle Beach, baby. Myrtle Beach.
Thumbs up for me. I don't know why, but thank you, Long Rider. And it's a good opportunity to jump in again and say, hey, I hope if you guys are enjoying and you haven't yet, would you consider a subscription? We talk about everything. You know, somebody had asked, I guess I missed that comment. What's this channel all about? It's all about you guys and whatever's happening in the photography world. Just get in here and chat, and everybody gets to state their opinion. And some people may disagree, some may agree, but that's what it's all about. But if you like it, we're on every Wednesday at noon Eastern, and we're on every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So consider a subscription and also drop a like. It just motivates me to keep doing it. All right. Frames TM in the house as well. All these people in the house. I send out all these invitations and they drop by. I guess they can only stay for a minute, maybe. That's what's going on. Color science is a real thing, yes. Therefore, Nikon rules. Sorry, every brand else. Yeah, it's all in what you like, and you know, I still go back to I actually like Fuji colors as well, but Fuji's been in film forever, so maybe that's some of their color science that they bring to the digital world. Uh,
Yeah, I think one of the things I like the most about the Fuji cameras is all the film simulation effects that you can do on their camera bodies because they
yeah,
Built
certainly
in.
made phenomenal film in the day.
yeah, Matthew talking about his Minolta light meter. And that's the thing about some of the things that we purchase. If you purchase right the first time, there are many things that we use in photography, videography that will last you a lifetime. You don't absolutely have to have the next best thing out there. And a light meter is one of them. Light stands are another one. Don't buy cheap. You'll buy cheap often if you do. I learned that the hard way.
Here's the Minolta
There
right
you go.
here.
There you go.
There you go. It's the Autometer 3. And I don't remember what year I bought this, but boy, it was a long time ago. And that one was just an incident light meter. It didn't do reflective.
Oh yeah, and oops, I'll throw this in here as well. You're absolutely right, Roy. Buy good once,
Yep.
buy bad many times over. And there are a lot of people that definitely go searching for the right tripod and buying rather than biting the bullet on the one they said they'd never buy, and you wind up buying somewhere down the road. I'll never spend $1,000 on a tripod, and then later on down the road, after many attempts, you wind up buying that tripod for $1,000. It's hard to do, I know, but you got to bite the bullet sometimes and just do it.
Yeah, good video frames the other day. That was right on point.
Very calm too. Nice and calm.
Yeah.
Yep, Red just gave off a loser vibe. I think they have, but this brings it to light again. You're right; it isn't great marketing for them. Not to mention the fact that it's at the time when Ari just, well, of course, the cost of Ari, but they just dropped their new uh, Cine body. So, yeah. But after hearing from Patrick, I don't think that guy cares anything about what anybody says. The owner, yeah, subliminal video caught that right off. That's great, Frames. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, this goes to show we're not afraid to say what's wrong with our gear. It doesn't matter what kind or who makes it.
No.
Pointing out the basic facts. This is how we use them. This is what we see. If Nikon listens to the community, which is millions of people, that's got to get back to the engineering folks. Hey, maybe we need to make something different. Absolutely.
That's from a selfie standpoint. I absolutely agree with you, Albert, because I'm afraid that an APS-C camera is going to steal production, and it pushes the prosumer body, the D850 like body. It pushes it farther down the production line, I think. So, or puts it on the back burner. However, whatever Nikon does, I'm guessing now that they have a strategy as to how it's going to work. I did not hear this, by the way, Hassan. Like a Panasonic Tech Alliance, I
Wow.
haven't heard anything about it. Matthew got a Lee Photo tripod. Good tripods. Yes, they are. Black Magic, they're all rooting for Nikon on this one.
Maybe it'll help pay for the lawyers.
Okay. You're welcome. It was a great video. John Young Link. It must have been from one of the comments that I skipped over. Yes, frames you are, and I think that's what we were telling you. Great storyteller, and your videos and your stills go right along with it. All right, everybody, get ready for a big round of applause. He's in the green room, getting his hair and makeup done right now. Here he goes. He's ready to join. Everybody, welcome Mister the Legend, Mister Photo Me Ike.
Ike in the house. Oh, there he is.
I got my hair done in the green room earlier.
Yeah, this is definitely not me wearing the same clothes I wore yesterday.
Where have
Definitely
you
a whole different outfit.
Yeah, we don't care. It's what you bring to the table that matters, man.
This is Jasper's fault. Okay.
Yep, yep. Well, I wanted to say something yesterday. I send you a link all the time. You show up on Vahagen's live stream, but
He
Cricket's
goes
over.
live at a better time. Okay. He goes live at a better time.
I know. I'm just kidding anyway.
I was like, you know what? Why did you have to go live today? But actually, yours is planned. Yours is like daily, right? Yours like
No,
on schedule.
he's
Every
always
Wednesday.
Wednesday, Saturday, every week, Wednesday, Saturday.
Yep.
It feels like it's soon. I feel like these days come quick. I'm like, he's live again. It's the other day. Jeez.
Yeah, Vahagen decided to do Tuesdays. So, yeah, it is a bit much. I know a lot of people can't make both, so that's just the way it goes. But, yeah, man, good to see you in here. T-Mid's in chat, but I think he's at work, isn't he? Maybe he just jumped in during lunch or something.
Yeah. These apps make it cool because like you can log in from your cell phone.
Yep.
Yep. Can be anywhere.
Yes, it is. It's nice. Just runs in the browser.
Yep. And doesn't take up much of computer, what are the computer resources, all that stuff. That makes it cool.
It's the compression.
Yeah.
In RAW, I'm not
And
worried about in RAW.
YouTube videos.
First of all, nobody's used NRAW. Okay, I can't find one video where people actually use NRAW and edit in NRAW.
Not yet.
It's rare. And then I'm like, man, NLog look for me personally. I'm like, I think NLog is all I ever really need. Like, I don't see myself really needing RAW, but I'm not a cinematographer. I'm not a video person. So I mean, I wonder like. Well, I guess there is a benefit of shooting raw, like shooting raw photos, but like with video, I mean, it's tough to,
No, it
it's
is.
tough
You
to,
mean you got to be all in video to
Yeah,
do
I
that.
mean, you don't need it for doing YouTube content,
no,
No,
so
yeah,
no, it's going to be more for commercial work, no doubt about it, and bragging rights. I mean, let's face it. We talk about that all the time too, but it is bragging rights.
Cat
you
alert.
know, I appreciate the technology existing for people who need it, but I don't see myself ever shooting past F in log. I'm about to say F log. F
So in
mount.
Inlog, how are you grading that? It's not really color grade. You're doing color correction, or what are you doing with your Inlog?
So here's the thing, right? I don't know how to grade footage.
Right.
Oh, jeez, I'm calling. Hold up a second. Let me answer this phone.
All right. It's somebody important. It's a Nikon rep wanting to know why you're on this channel.
It's red.
president, it's the president,
Yes.
Air Force One.
So for you guys, I am going to throw up here. I'm not going to throw up, but I am going to put up the video. Oops. Let me skip that real quick. That I did over the weekend.
Awesome. First, we need a cookie break.
Yes, I'm going to need me, the old man. I'm going to have to go empty some coffee here in a minute. So I've got this pulled up on the monitor back here, but I'll switch to that monitor. Let's go ahead and since he's going to talk about his video routine with the N-Log, I'm going to drop this video real quick or show this video real quick. This is from the wedding, and it was just some bits and pieces that I took. Just wanted to try the video on the Z9 since I was there. And I'll give you all the ins and outs of what it is and what's going on. But just so you know, it's 4K, 265, 10-bit. So I had to render it, or otherwise it wouldn't play. I had to render it, but here it is. I'll let you guys look at it. You're going to see. Let me get rid of the audio for that real quick. I do want to leave some of the audio in here because, believe it or not, this is the inboard mic on the Z9 that's capturing the audio.
Hey, the onboard mic on the Xenon is actually not bad. I was like, it's actually pretty decent.
It is. It's great. So anyway, this is obviously more light during the day. Had a lot of window light coming in, so it's really easy. But we will get to the night scene when it just goes bad. I'm not
Is that
saying
JP Moreland?
bad. It did
that's
well
not-
considering. Now this is on continuous autofocus. I'm shooting with the 51.8 right here. This is where somebody grabs my arm and starts shaking me as I'm standing on a chair doing video.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
Was that the video photographer not wanting you to shoot video?
there was no videographer. That's just it. No, it was an open bar at the wedding. So
Ah, okay.
You see me sitting up here with $1,000. Don't shake me. Go somewhere. Leave me alone.
let me get
Get lo- get loose. Have a good time. What does it look like? I'm having a great time. Leave me.
yeah, exactly.
This is fun for me. Okay. It doesn't look like it, but trust me, I'm having a blast.
Let me skip ahead here. Did catch a little video of the bride. She was beautiful, having a ball. But here you go. Now this is at 25,000 ISO. 25,000. Yes, there is noise in it, and when you freeze the frame, you can see the noise. But as long as everything's moving, it's definitely acceptable for a lot of people. A lot
I
of people.
can't see any noise on this stream.
No, you probably can't as small as it is. But let me
Yeah.
pause. Now you can see the noise in the background here, in the shadow, especially in
Oh
the
yeah.
dark and the blacks. But yeah, as long as it's playing, it's fine. But I just wanted to post it. This was my first chance to really play with the Z9. Oh, by the way, I had the 1 to 400 on here, so it's at f4. It made it even harder.
Oh yeah.
But the f4 did a fantastic job, or not f4, but the 1 to 400 did a fantastic job considering how close I was.
Oh, 100 to 400.
Yeah,
Oh yeah. You can catch somebody slipping with that.
yeah. No grading, no correction, no anything. Just rendered so that I could actually play it here, so you guys could see it.
Whose wedding is this?
It's my wife's niece.
Okay, all right. I just can't help but notice the quality of subjects you have running around. I was like, everybody's dressed nice. Everybody looks nice. Okay, this is a nice wedding. This is a nice event.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But anyway, I just wanted to show you guys some of the video footage. Now, it's not incredible or anything about it, but you get an idea of what the Z9 is doing with video. In the earlier video, I could have actually corrected, and this is where RAW really pays big dividends. I think Ike is that the background or the windows were everything's just blown out with all that light coming in the window.
Mm-hmm.
It would be fun to shoot some raw video just to see how much of that you could bring back. I'm curious because everybody's talking about the Z9 having a lot better highlight recovery than
Mm-hmm.
shadow recovery, which is completely opposite of what we know about Nikon.
Somebody said, "How good are the stills from 8K video?" I wish I could tell you, but I've shot 8K maybe 6, 7 times, and the only time I shoot 8K is for YouTube demonstration. So I can't even say. But thanks for telling me because that's maybe something I should look into. You know, if 8K 60 in log was a thing, I'd be all over it for the fact of shooting 8K 60 in log. But 8K 60 is raw, and I can't do anything with raw footage. So
So
that's
if I rendered that in, oh shoot, uh, just 4K, it's 4K 60 by the way. If I rendered it that way, that was a 109 gigabyte file, 4.5 minutes.
Yeah,
But rendering,
files get huge. I tell you, I do my little short pieces for my birding stuff, and my hard drive is filling up like crazy.
oh yeah, somebody I have some in raw for the culture. If you guys want, actually I'll put the link in the chat because remember Jaspreet was like, "Hey, you should do that." I'm like, it took me a day just to upload one like 30-second clip, a whole day. Now imagine you shoot a video, it's like at least 2-3 minutes. I was like, I don't know if the F is worth it for all this. So I was like, I upload a few clips, but you just do what you can with that. Now it's a decent clip, they let you play with it, but it's 100 so gigabytes
yeah,
for per second. It's crazy taxing.
I imported it in Final Cut Pro, And basically, I did cut a couple of things off, just stepping up anyway, so you could at least see the video going on, both in good light and in bad light. It only took
Close.
21 minutes to render on my little MacBook Pro with all the stuff running in the background. Uh, so I was really impressed with that. But I didn't shoot ProRes RAW. I didn't shoot in RAW, obviously. I have
Mm-hmm.
no way to edit in RAW.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, I mean, I'm just shooting H.265 10-bit 4K 120.
Yep.
That's it. And I don't have a need to do anything different other than if I want to shoot 4K 60 or what have you. But
So I learned a few things. One, I learned that my lens selection was not correct, but I knew that going into this because I don't have a large selection of Z lenses. I didn't try the FTZ for any of this. I wanted to use my 51.8, the 1 to 400, and I took the 24 to 70 f4, which is fine for good light, but I found that I struggled with it with low light at f4. So unfortunately, with the Z9, I believe you're going to have to shoot almost wide open and with Z glass, especially if you're doing video, because I'm not pulling focus. So with the now talking about autofocus on the video side, I think it did a great job. There are several focus modes that you can choose that work well, especially for group shots like that, where you don't really care and you're not specific about any one person. However, in the stills side of the house, I tried all focus modes, and so here's what I learned. I had to go back to single point focus, with continuous focus, continuous auto, single point, I could at least hold a subject. And I'm not saying that the Z9 is bad, but when you have eye autofocus on and it's searching for eyes and people are standing in a crowd, it will find every eye in the crowd. And it's
Yeah.
hard to keep it on an individual. And I tried 3D tracking, and that worked okay. But even that, because of the number of people standing in the crowd, it would chase eyes. So it worked fine again with single point. Now
Well,
I don't know
that's
what
yeah.
everybody
Well,
else.
yeah, I mean, single point's there for a reason. And some people, for whatever reason, seem to think that if you use that, then, oh, you're dumbing down your camera. And it's like, no, you're not dumbing down your camera. You're using the appropriate mode for the setting that you're in. And
Right.
there's nothing wrong with it.
You have
yeah.
the
No, I
right
was I was
settings,
gonna say the same thing.
the
Yeah,
settings for the environment.
Yeah.
and back to your point, Chuck. Like in a lot of those cases, people are rack focusing. Like they are, you know, rack focusing, or they're just containing the focus point to just a section. So like
Yeah,
single, like the customizable box. So they're like, all
right.
right, middle of the frame, just focus on what's here, and then I'm gonna zoom in on whoever's in this position, or I'm just gonna go to rack focus. I'm just gonna manually focus it myself.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I wanted to mention that also. Somebody else brought that up to me. Actually, it was Vahagan because he shot a wedding. He shot a couple of weddings now, I think, with the Z9. But you're absolutely right. And he told me that I did not
Okay.
try that. You know how it is when you're
Um,
in a venue and you're just actually shooting for fun. I did not try to use the C1, C2 mode and tailor that box to a very small portion. And I wish I had because I think that may have been the answer to this. Hey, welcome, Darren. Good to see you in here, man. I was using the Delkin Black 128 gig cards, and I have one card shoots to, or I shoot overflow with the second card. However, video is shot to the second card. I think if I had tried to do it all on one card, I would have run into a case where it did jump over to the second card.
I just posted the link in the group chat
Okay.
in the chat. So whoever sees my link, copy and paste it to you, and then it'll take you to my Google Drive, and then I have in-log 10-bit 4K 60 clips of an event. I would think I was at a Seahawks draft day party. I just shot a bunch of 4K 60 in log, and then there is 8.3K 60 in raw in log. So it's raw footage, but it's in log raw. So it's not graded. It's not like so it's you got to color grade it and it's raw. And what the cool thing, and somebody mentioned this with the Nikon, is it records like a 1080p like proxy file or whatever with it. So when you look at it, you're gonna see an MP4 file. You're gonna see an NAV. MP4 is like the 1080p like test clip or whatever, just so you can see what it is, and then NAV is the actual raw file, which I think was smart of them to do that to
Yeah,
record.
absolutely. See, I didn't shoot in log. Actually, that was the standard picture profile for the video as well.
Good luck. I wish you all good. What are they saying, Game of Thrones? I wish you all good fortune in the wars to come with your computer, trying to download these files.
Yeah,
Yeah, 8K, like someone said, 8K is a lot of data, and no one's streaming 8K. I mean, not everybody's doing 4K. And what
There you
can
go.
no,
what can YouTube even handle?
the 8K thing is just because if you want to go that route, it gives you a lot of latitude to zoom and do a lot of things with the footage.
That
That's
is
about
correct.
it.
So to your point, Chuck, remember I showed that wedding yesterday?
Yep.
There was a section of the wedding that I shot in 8K just to use the example, the pan and slide. So what I did is I shot a little bit wide in 8K, and then I was gonna readjust it and then zoom in and use it as like a slider moment, but it was a still shot. And so I just thought ahead like that, and that's the reason you would shoot 8K is to think about compositions like that. Like, oh, if I'm at 8K, I can shoot a wide frame, and then I can also get a tight frame in one setting. But it's like megapixels. It's like, oh, if you compose your images right, you don't need 50 megapixels. But if you're lazy with composition, or if you're trying to get 2 frames out of one, then you're gonna shoot a little bit wider and just crop into whatever angle you need.
Yep.
Because I do that, like when I shoot for like commercial clients or editorial clients, I'm shooting a little bit wider. Because if you need a 5x4 frame or a 4x6 or whatever, then you have options with the crop. Or if you need a square frame or whatnot.
Yep.
So
Yeah, and Mozman brought up too is to future proof your camera because
yeah.
8K will be something before too awfully long. 4K is pretty much the standard now for everything everybody's shooting and doing.
Well,
Uh,
so I had a debate with a low key debate with Miguel Quiles. He's a Sony ambassador.
yeah,
And my debate, and this is my thing, that even with 8K becoming a thing in future proofing our cameras, you'll still buy another 8K camera before you ever have to even take advantage of 8K in the current camera you have, because 1080p is still king.
Yep.
yeah,
And my argument was that like most of the content that we consume is on a 1080p screen. Even if it was recorded in 4K, it's being consumed most of the time in 1080p resolution. The only time you get 4K, true 4K, is if you're watching something on your TV and on YouTube app or on a computer. But most content is streamed in 1080p. Like I'd say like 70%, which is a large amount.
no, you're right, but 4K has become available now, and I think that's why 4K is going to be is relevant. And then back to just like you were saying, and I said, 8K right now is just if you have a machine that can actually process it, it gives you a lot of latitude to play with crops and everything else. So
I give um, I give 4K another 10 years before it becomes like normal. Like how 1080p is normal. Like how everything's like default 1080p. I
right,
give 4K another 10 years before that comes thing. Which that gives 8K another 20 years before that's even relevant like 4K is. Because you gotta think about data and transfer. Like
you're right.
1080p is looks fine. Like it's never I feel like when you come to resolution and sharpness and pixels and detail, you just put numbers on the board after a certain amount of resolution. So I'd say after like 10 at 2K or 1440p, anything past that, you just add numbers on the board, and it's not really necessary. Like I don't want to go back to 480, But 1080p to me is like the standard of like, okay, well, this is sharp enough for me to enjoy, where I'm not distracted by the graininess and the pixels and all that stuff and the fuzziness.
Yeah, and,
Global
and
4K
8K, if
content.
you viewed something in 8K, I'm sorry. I mean, if you have anybody like me that wears glasses, I'm sure as heck not going to tell the difference between watching something on my 4K TV and watching
Right.
something on an 8K TV.
Exactly.
It's not.
And they s-
At what point are you just spending money to spend money and
Yeah.
without getting a lot of value out of it? And to me, 8K is, other than the editing pluses that you get from it, to actually make the content in 8K and show it in 8K, to me is a waste of time personally.
Well, because I'm a low key like consumer electronics enthusiast, and so back when I was searching for TVs and things like that, I read all the reports and see all of the comparisons, and they were saying that like visually it's hard to tell the difference past under a certain screen size. So for
Right.
8K TVs, you have to be like 60 inches and above, maybe 55 inches and above for 8K to make
See
a
a difference.
difference. Anything under that is going to be hard to tell the difference at 8 feet or whatever viewing distance away.
Yeah.
Like the further away, the harder it is to see the difference. And that is true because if I watch 1080p on my iPhone, it looks really good.
It does.
But if I put 1080p on this screen, ew, that is disgusting. This is
Why-
a 32 inch. I can come out. Actually, not gonna show you guys my setup. This is my setup right here, right? So this is how I edit. Turn the ISO down. Turn it. So this is my M1 MacBook Pro, and then this is you guys. And this is a 32-inch screen, right? And this is a 13-inch screen. It's a way big difference, right? Picture in picture in this whole thing, right? I got to be at least 1440p to enjoy content on this screen. But this screen, yeah. 1080p might work.
Or why do you think they're trying to put gig speed internet at every house so they can support these higher resolutions? If the
Well,
infrastructure is
that's-
not
so-
ready for 8K.
Well, so that's another argument, right? And I used to work for the cable company. I used to work for Circuit City, and I used to work for Comcast. I used to work for the two big consumer. Internet speeds they're not we're not on the cutting edge in America when it comes to internet speeds across the globe, because the corporations are trying to like get every dollar and every cent from us. And so we suffer because of that. So I remember Comcast. I remember here in Washington State, Comcast was like the only show in town. And then Verizon tried to come in with their fiber internet, and Verizon was like, oh, we offer 1 gigabyte fiber internet. All of a sudden, Comcast was like, we're going to upgrade our lines and get people fast internet to compete with Verizon. They could have did that all along, but they didn't want to do that until Verizon came in. In certain parts of the country, when Google was coming out with Google Fiber, that was a big thing. It was 1 gigabyte internet. And, these companies will go to the government, they'll lobby and fight tooth and nail to keep these other companies from trying to compete with faster speeds, internet, and things like that, because it's a whole monopoly. It's like a legal monopoly that they have over the lines and things like that. And so we're still trying to get to the speeds fast enough to support these resolutions and things like that.
Right. Even
And
1080.
then
So, Cutting Timmy says that
Mhm.
most YouTube videos are 1080p or less, but I'm seeing a lot more 4K content on YouTube. Over the last year.
all of my videos are in 4K. I shoot
Yeah.
everything in 4K, knowing that like, because I
Right.
want to view it in 4K, but I know that if you look at the analytics, it'll tell you like 80% people are watching it on a phone in 1080p. Like that's just the truth of the matter. But what was I gonna say? When you think about streaming 1080p versus 4K, the cable companies are charging you. They're limiting amount of bandwidth, so they're saying, "Hey, you get 1 terabyte of bandwidth per month. If you go over 1 terabyte, we're gonna charge you extra for going over that certain amount." And so, if you want to stream 4K content or 8K content, it's gonna hit your pockets.
Yeah, go
So-
potty. Come on.
Oh, this is what's going on. I have
Left his
my
mic on.
thing is turned up too. That's why I'm noisy. I was like, what's going on here? But yeah, they're hitting your pockets. So yeah, 4K is cool and all until you got to pay an extra $60 per gigabyte over
Yeah.
your bandwidth limit. So
So
Now,
what's the technical difference if you upload 1080p to YouTube or 4K to YouTube? What is YouTube doing to that video? Are they still downsizing it?
that's the thing, right?
Right.
So I I shoot in 4K and I upload in 4K because I know that YouTube they did a thing, and like the megabits per second, like 1080p is like 10 or 15 and 4K is 25, right? Our cameras are shooting 100 megabits or megabytes or whatever, one or maybe 200, right? It's 4K 60 200 megabits per second or per file, whatever, right? YouTube is compressing that down to 25, right? So that's a whole lot of compression. And so even if you shoot in 4K, YouTube is making it look like high quality 1080p
Right.
on a
Right.
normal screen. So I always compare it to that because I remember I went to a store one day and I was looking at a TV screen and I was like, man, that looks good. Is that 4K? And it was like, no, it's 1080p. I'm like, why does it look so clear? It was an OLED screen at the time,
Yeah.
big back before OLED.
Yep.
So, but the contrast and the resolution was like top tier because of the direct feed. And I'm like, that looks like 4K on YouTube on that screen,
Right.
but it's 1080p. And so, because of the bit rate.
Pixel size. Yep.
Mm-hmm. And so all of that stuff has to be compressed down. And so what we're getting, and this is just my thesis or whatever, my educated guess, what we're getting most of the time, what is perceived to be 4K is visually like high quality 1080p.
Yep.
Like if you were looking at a 1080p file directly from the source, essentially that's what 4K looks like over the internet. But by definition, it's better than what 1080p would look like, so you got to consider it.
But
Yes, don't
that's
use
the
the Final
market
Cut.
too, right?
Yeah.
The technology advances and it forces you to buy the newer model to keep up with the software.
Yeah, and sales, like,
Yep.
we also talked about that debate, like UHD, full HD versus ultra HD versus HD. Like 720p was HD, right? And then 1080p was full HD,
Right.
and now it's ultra HD. Like, what's the difference? What does that even mean? Like UHD,
Money.
ultra HD.
This stack and now this stack of money.
Yeah. Oh, well, this was HD, but this is full HD. Like, what's the difference between full and regular? So, these
Marketing.
companies all come together. That's where they communicate. Like, you think Nikon, Canon, and Sony are arguing, but Panasonic, LG, Sony, they're all working together to figure out what can we name the new thing so we can sell more TVs. So,
Put an I in front of it.
exactly, yeah.
hey, Matthew Card asked if the phone line was going to be open. It will be. I gotta run to the little boys' room. When I get back, we'll open the phone line, let everybody jump in here and add their 10 cents worth. Be right back. Overshare, maybe?
Yeah. YouTube
So, give
compresses the
us
files.
30 seconds of what WPPI is.
Oh, you kidding me? It's the best thing in the world. Like, 30 seconds means, geez, I don't know how to. I don't know
Okay,
how
a
to
minute.
do that. Yeah. So this is my argument. This is always been my argument. Photography is a lonely space. It is a lonely space to be in. It's a lonely, like we're talking, but we're still at our houses, right? We're not in an office room talking to each other. We're not out at lunch together. We're all in our own places at home. So WPPI is essentially a place, an excuse for us creatives to get together and learn from each other, share ideas, and then maybe learn some tricks from people who want to speak and things like that.
Right.
So I always advocate for WPPI because as a person who started off, it was me investing in my education. And so I went to WPPI, took some classes. I learned a lot of great tips and tricks that I never implemented because, that's what happens. You go to these things, you learn some stuff, and then you don't do any of the things you learned.
Wow. Yeah,
Maybe
you
like
don't
one
have-
or two.
You don't have to be a pro. I mean, you don't have to be making money at it. You're still going to go to WPPI and learn, right?
Yeah, if you are open to learning, right? If you're
Right.
open to it, and if you because not everything is a home run. Some classes are like, this is BS. They're just some, but some classes they're actually giving you really good meat and bones to take away.
Sure.
You just have to be open to it. I learned a lot, like just sitting in a print judging. If you actually sit in a print judging competition and look at how they judge the prints and what you think is cool, they pick apart. You're like, oh, I didn't even notice that, and so you start looking at pictures differently. So I learned a lot from sitting in a print competition, random conversations. There are people who I met at the conference randomly who I'm still friends with to this day. So, and then also it gives me excuse. Let's say you guys all decided to go. Well, we get to meet each other in real life. Like, Chuck, you're
Right.
in what? You about to be in North Carolina or South Carolina? Where are you moving to?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. Chuck's moving to Nashville. Like, I'm not coming to Nashville to see Chuck. Like, it's cool, but I'm never going to go to Nashville to hang out with Chuck. But if he comes to Vegas and we all can, we can all have a drink together. We can all talk.
Is it a whole week, Ike?
Okay, go
No,
ahead.
it's like 3 days now. It used to be a week back in the day, but now it's like just 3 days.
Hello,
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or something?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Matt. Okay, it's Matthew Card, everybody.
Hey, Matthew.
Hello.
Matthew, you hear us? All right.
Welcome.
Go ahead with your comment.
I can't hear him.
No.
You guys can't hear him?
No.
Crickets. That's it. I can't hear anything.
Yeah, I don't know if you're calling from your phone. I don't know why. Oh, okay. I'll tell you what, let me get that in a minute. All right, Matthew. I don't know why we can't hear you. Okay, that's the problem. All right, hang on a second. Okay, all right. I'll get to it here in just a minute, buddy. All right, bye. Bye. All right, don't know why. Everything's good. We are set up. Don't know why it didn't work. That was Matthew Card wanted to make a comment.
What was he saying? Do you know?
No, he's trying to figure out why. So I may send him a link here in a minute. Hey, so the call line's up there, you guys. If anybody wants to call in, but
We can hear Matt. Wait, Roy, y'all could hear him?
I think he meant to.
I think he meant
can't.
can't.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So here's a comment. John Okafor. Let's see, still hanging on to my Z6, Z7, but slowly moving to Canon. Nikon is too slow. I hope they survive. Okay, so I have no problem with your comment there as far as Z6, Z7, but slowly moving to Canon. That's fine. And Nikon is too slow. I can go along with that, but I hope they survive. Why do you feel they won't survive? If you don't mind letting us know here. Just curious about why they wouldn't survive. Nikon, that is. I mean, you guys have any comment on this?
No. I think there's no doubt they're going to survive. I just think the frustration is that things have progressed. Well, it depends on how you want to look at this. Okay, Sony had a head start. So if you look at what Nikon did in 4 or 5 years versus where Sony was in their first 4 or 5 years, Nikon's gone gangbusters. But when the other team is already halfway around the track before you get at the starting blocks, then people don't have any patience anymore, and they just think that you're gonna hit a home run right out of the gate, first camera you release, and you're gonna catch up in 6 months. And it's not how it is now. I think they've caught up.
Well,
It's a matter of them to spread the benefits of the Z9.
But hey, Jeff, I want to know why he thinks that Nikon won't survive. Is it because they're too slow, or is there another reason?
Yeah.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Well, so in my opinion, I'm like, if I switch to another company, to hell with the last one. I'm like, I don't care if you survive or not. So that's very considerate of him. But
Yeah.
me personally, if I'm a Nikon shooter and I'm like, all right, I'm moving to Sony. If they survive now, I don't care. I'm already moved to the next one.
Yeah, but this statement needs more information, right? Yeah, my Nikon Z6 couldn't keep up with the bald eagles out of the park, so I waited. Z9 had all the power I need. So was I going to switch to another camera? I have all the glass, so it's just what fits for you. But
Well,
there's a lot of questions in that statement.
Yeah, I'm just curious about the end of it. If you want to move to Canon, I think that's fine. That's
Right. Stop.
everybody moves to whatever
It's
they want to
expensive.
move.
Like, it's
And,
expensive
and
to
and
switch.
I even agree with Nikon is too slow. Right now they are, no doubt about it.
Right.
But when you throw in, I hope they survive. I'm just questioning why wouldn't they survive?
And
What is your reasoning behind hoping they will?
right, look at their financial statement. They're surviving. Somebody's buying Nikon cameras, and they're going to continue to make them. So they're making somebody happy.
Yeah, I'm just curious. That's all. I just want to know why he thinks Nikon could possibly
Right.
go under.
I mean, you know, that's just a running joke anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
I know, and that's the reason I bring it up because
Yeah.
clarification helps to counter some of these things
Yeah.
that go on out there. That again, is this now we back to Vahagen's stream yesterday? Is it influencers that are influencing people that Nikon may die?
Yeah, well, I think influencer may spark the light or whatever, spark the match.
Yeah,
But then the people who spread the thing kind of they create the fires, right? It's a constant repeating of what you heard. So, um, yeah, that's just I just think people you get a soundbite. It's like with anything, you get a soundbite and you run with it, and whether it's true or not, and whether people like look into it, like Marsman is saying, people don't read. We
yeah.
do not read. We take the soundbite and we run with the soundbite. And if you're anyone who doesn't care or is not invested, or doesn't care to want to know more, then the soundbite is just good enough for you. Like, all right, cool, I'm gonna take the soundbite, regardless of how business works or anything like that. I always say that, like, if at best, Nikon would become worst case scenario, Nikon would become Leica. Like, who buys Leica cameras?
Yeah.
No, not saying that people do buy Leica cameras, but that's
Yeah.
the point. Like, Leica
They
Yeah.
buy
doesn't
them.
have to
I've
sell.
never met anyone that owns one, but I'm sure they're there.
Yeah, they're rare, right? And so, like, Leica is still like a respected camera company. You know, they're not like selling billions of cameras, but they're still doing fine. So,
So
I mean, I could understand his last comment without explanation. If we're sitting here a year from now and we don't have more bodies
Yeah.
in the next year and everything is status quo, then yeah, I think we would be in a lot of trouble. But I don't
Right.
think that's going to happen.
Like
Right.
Chuck said, I think there's some announcements coming.
yeah,
but that's the thing. It's never been that way. It's never been that way.
no, I know. So I guess, hey, John, here's my comment to your comment, man. Honestly, I hope you enjoy Canon, and there's nothing wrong with switching brands if that's what you want to do. And so I'll add a caveat to it, just like you did. I hope Canon actually survives. All right, man. Not picking on you, brother, but I just don't understand the last bit there. But I hope Canon serves you well. Seriously, I do, and it's a good camera. All right, I just thought that was interesting. The last piece to that.
Most like, cause I know, mostly walk around street photos. Yeah, that's. I know one guy who shoots like he's actually from here. He's a YouTuber as well, but he shoots Canon too. He shoots like a Canon, all of that stuff.
I mean, Leicas are so expensive, and they're mainly still. I mean, they got video, right? But they're mainly stills. I mean, is Leica glass that much better than Nikon or Sony or Canon?
I'm still waiting for somebody to do the comparison, but nobody will do it. Like, that's the real comparison: is why are people still paying $1 billion for Leica glass and Leica cameras?
The math photographer covers Leica quite often, doing testing of the new models and whatnot. You get at least a peek into it there.
But
Um,
I mean, they're not.
Kind of like buying a Swiss watch made the old-fashioned way.
Yeah.
And
You're
it's
telling
just
people
a
you got money.
mechanical marvel with ultimate precision, will last for generations, and that's the feel. When people say, "Oh, it's all in the feel of the Leica camera," it's a lot of it is just the attention to detail and the hand craftsmanship. But Does it give you a better image? Argumentative at best. And for the money, I could buy a lot more Nikon glass.
You know, and I could accept that argument if like the most expensive Leica, digital Leica was like 3,000 or 3,500, but these things are like $6,000,
Right.
and
It's just,
it's a digital camera.
Bro,
It's
basic.
not it's not 30 frames per second. It's
No.
not 8K raw. It's not any of that stuff. It is like it's it's negative 2 frames per second
Right.
because you got to click it and then you got to. It's like negative, you know. Like I'm looking at B&H right now, like a Q2, $5,995 for a digital camera with a built-in 28 1.7, not even a 1.4, a 21, and it's digital.
It's
I
right.
could
It's
see
the
the
main, it's the money. Hey, look at me. I afforded a $10,000 camera, and it's a pocket camera.
yeah.
yeah,
I
look,
could
it's,
see.
it's a niche brand, no
It's
doubt
niche.
about it. I mean, yeah, it's cool looking too. I'll admit that. To me, at least, they're cool looking cameras. They are great cameras, but yeah, they're not going to. Now, they are truly a smaller company. They are not like a Canon, Nikon, Sony, and they're not interested in selling a million cameras a year.
Yeah.
But they found the financial wherewithal to make it profitable for them, and they keep putting it out there. Digging into somebody's head as to why they buy it, I think,
Well,
good luck there. They buy it because they
it's an
want to.
image thing. It's bragging rights. It's for other wrong reasons that where people are fortunate enough to have money in excess and can afford it. And then it's kind of like buying certain watches. I mean, it's like buying the Rolex watch. Do you need a Rolex? I don't need. I could buy a $5 watch at a tag sale that'll tell me the time.
Yeah,
May not look great, but it works. It tells me what time it is. Do I need anything more than that? Well, go get a Rolex and spend your 10 to 20 grand, and then you could tell all your friends you got a Rolex. But
well,
same
like
idea.
You still
like
drive
a
a
lot
Chevy.
they like to show their videos of their clean rooms and how precision they are. That's fine. I mean that's its reputation, right? It's not an
Yeah.
everyday camera for everybody, for
Right.
sure.
Who was that soccer player that the Sun just published a book, but he used a Leica?
I don't know, but you know what? People will
Yeah.
buy it just because he said I
Right.
used a Leica.
Because he had the money.
Aquaman loves Leicas. Jason Momoa, he's like a big Leica fan. But
He got
again,
the
these
money.
people are rich. Like they have a
Yeah,
lot
I
of
mean,
they have a lot
you're a
of money.
multimillionaire.
Yeah,
What does it matter that you paid 10 grand for the body?
yeah.
That's nothing.
I'm
10
not
grand to
gonna.
them is like $1 to us. So
I, I can admit that if I was somebody of great financial means, I'd have a Leica too, and I would
Yep.
Check it out.
justify it. I would justify it and say, well, you just want something that's built or so. I would whatever talking points they use, I would use those
yeah.
talking points. But because I don't, I'm sitting here like, what's the point, bro? But
Here you go. This is funny. Jasper Red fanboy on Twitter. He said, "Why doesn't Nikon innovate and build better camera rather than stealing compressed raw from Red?"
see there,
They
see
didn't
there.
steal anything.
It's they took the title, they took the soundbite, and they ran with it.
Yep.
That's all,
Nikon did
and
not
that's what
steal
people
anything.
do.
So I think that the next camera is going to be an APS-C body. It's going to be a higher end APS-C. It's probably going to be spec'd a little better than the R7, and I think we're going to hear about it here in the next couple of weeks.
They almost have to, Chuck. I agree. I mean, it's everybody's making them.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
if
know, and
Nikon makes it, it's got to follow suit.
there's so many arguments over why we should or shouldn't have APS-C, and the biggest argument usually from the APS-C community. I'm not saying it's the only argument. The
Price.
biggest is, well, no, the biggest is reach.
Reach.
And you really have no more reach. A 400 millimeter lens is a 400 millimeter lens, even on a crop body or DX body.
Right. There's
It's
some
got
great
to be
videos
10-bit.
of comparing APS-C with.
Well, you're just getting that crop. That's all you're getting is that crop.
Yes,
It's got to be 10-bit, regardless. If they're not 10-bit,
you're
they drop the
absolutely
ball.
right. Nope, you're right. You're right. And you know what? I'm gonna quote you on that too because you're
Yeah.
right, Ike. if it's not internal 10-bit, then it's wrong.
They dropped the ball.
You
And
know,
everybody, all the Nikon fanboys will be talking about you don't need it.
Yep. No.
You
what,
know?
what scares me is if they didn't already have this in their queue 18 months ago, then they're screwed.
Right.
Because, it's kind of like, I mean, sometimes you got to release something that maybe as a corporation you don't want, maybe you weren't ready to release it, or it wasn't like your number one thing you wanted to do, but marketing and you have to stay in the conversation. If you're
You
no
gotta be.
longer in the conversation, then then you lose
Right.
in the end. So
Did Nikon
sometimes you
think
sell
the
stuff.
was the ZFC going to be that successful? I mean, it sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
It's a
so
different, it's a different market.
Right.
Yeah.
so
Z50?
they gotta be able to pivot. I remember telling the story about the Google Pixel, the first Google phone or whatever it was, and it was like they had a phone already set to come out, and then Apple did the presentation of the first iPhone, and the Google people saw it and they scrapped everything they had and went back to the drawing board. Like they literally had a design ready and was going to do something within 90 days or something like that. But Apple came out with their iPhone and Steve Jobs did all of that with stuff he did, and they said, you know what, back to the drawing board. That's what you got to be able to do if you want to stay highly competitive. Is you got to be able to see and recognize what the competition doing and say, you know what, I know we've been working on this for a year, but this isn't it. We got to go back to the drawing board. We got to figure out how we can compete because the standard has changed now. And it's not like, oh, we've been testing it for the last year and we've already no, go back to the drawing board, because that's what happens with a Z6 and a Z6 II.
Yeah.
Like they might have been working on the Z6 before the A7 III, right? Because you think about the time the A7 III came out in the same year as the Z6, and they might have been working on the Z6, and the A7 III came out, and it was like, crap, we've put resources in the Z. Let's just drop it anyway, right? And now they're gonna come out with a Z6 II, like 2 years later. With minor, oh, we should have put 2 memory cards in, we didn't, because essentially they just released a second version with the stuff that should have been in the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, hard to stop the presses when the design is built and everything's tooled and ready to go. Now they're behind. As soon as they
We're going to see
put it out, they're
updates. We are going to see updates to the Z6 II, Z7 II, no doubt about it. What they're going to be, I don't know. But Nikon can't just make a higher megapixel, lower megapixel camera and call it quits there with some AF updates and things like that. There has to be a significant difference between those two bodies. And Matthew, it may be semantics, but it is not a 120 to 300 on a DX body. It is just cropping what you see. So you're using it's equivalent to a
right.
120 to 300, but it is not a 120 to 300. Obviously, I know you know that, but that's where people, I think, sometimes get it wrong. They think that somehow the lens performs as a 120 to 300 when it does not.
Well, Chuck, have you taken the Z9, put it in crop mode? I mean,
I have not, but I have a D500, so I understand
Right.
that whole philosophy there.
Right.
And yes, it does. It appears to give you more reach, but it's not. At times, a DX body will give you more resolution because it's not cropping for that initial photo. However, when you begin to crop on DX, the fidelity does go down.
Yeah.
So,
and a lot,
I've cropped a few shots on my Z9.
right?
And the funny thing is, and I'll admit it because I'm not perfect, I'm far from it, I think it was probably the last shots I took of the day. I happened to switch it to DX mode, and then I forgot to change it back to FX, and I didn't pick up on it when I went shooting the next day, and I took a whole bunch of shots that were in DX mode that I didn't need to take in DX mode.
How did they look though?
And well, they look fine. I mean, because a DX mode shot on a Z9, you could do 300 dots per inch at 12 by 18 print. So if you're not printing bigger than 12 by 18, you've got the ideal, dots per inch or pixels per inch or whatever. So you could always print bigger than that with a smaller DPI. But yeah, it's not a big deal on a Z9 to shoot in the DX
Hey
mode.
guys, help me out. Isn't the ZFC the vlogging camera?
Now the Z50, I don't know if the ZFC has the flip out screen that
It does.
reverses. The
that's the
Z50
difference.
does.
They both do. They both have
They
flip
both
out
do?
screens.
Okay.
Just different ways. The Z50
All right.
flips up. The ZFC flips out. They
Right.
both
Flips
do.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do we need another different camera for vlogging? I'm just asking.
I don't see why you would. If like I said before, you could buy the 2-lens kit with the Z50 for $1,200. That's a
Only-
good deal.
The only issue, in my opinion, for the Z50 and the ZFC is it has no IBIS. Neither of them have a built-in IBIS,
Okay.
which is it's a highly requested spec for vlogging
Yes.
cameras.
So
That is the only thing missing, because Nikon doesn't make any lenses. Their lenses don't have IBIS built in because they rely on IBIS in the camera.
right.
And so that's my always point about glass is that, like, all right, you're gonna make these cameras, you got to make the glass to support them. So
I think the R7 and R10 fall into this conversation then, because I think the R7 does have in-body stabilization, but the R10 doesn't.
exactly. So at least
Yeah.
Canon gives you an option to buy, whereas Nikon doesn't.
Okay. All right, here you go. This is my other concern with dropping an APS-C camera. Here we go. Everybody said no. Everybody just uses full frame glass. No, only birders and wildlife photographers and sports shooters use long glass for more reach. We're going to start hearing there aren't enough APS-C lenses. And again, selfish of me. I will admit it's selfish. But I think that takes away from full frame glass production. And there are plenty of niche lenses out there in the Nikon lineup that we want to see in the Z mount that aren't on the roadmap. So, Frames brought up a good point too, and I don't want to get off track on this with the APS-C lenses, but he brought up Nikon needs to introduce 1.4 lenses as well because they would be a cheaper alternative to the 1.2s. I think the 1.2s are pretty much where the old 2.8s were, aren't they? Or 1.4s were in the F mount. Are the 1.2 lenses more expensive than the 1.4s were in the F mount?
Well, I
Come
think
again?
what
Like,
they
what do you
I
mean?
think what they say is the Z 1.4 the Z lenses are. I think they were, maybe I'm going to blurb here. I may be babbling, but I think the 1.8 lenses on the Z mount they said were better than the F mount 1.4s. I think that was one thing that I was
Okay,
saying.
not what Nikon says. This is what people are, asking.
Yeah, I think the
Not a
1.8
lot, but
Zs
some
are better than the
Why don't we
1.4
have
Fs.
1.4 Z lenses? Because they'd be cheaper than 1.2s.
Well, they'd be cheaper and lighter. I mean, they wouldn't be anywhere near as big.
Well, if I recall, 1.4 lenses in F mount were priced pretty much where the 1.2s are in the Z line. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I'll have to check.
We didn't have a 50 equivalent in 1.4 that was any good in F mount. I'm just wondering. I don't know. I kind of like the 1.8 and 1.2 thing, but I guess if Nikon, and how much is that going to really hamper production if they carry 1.8, 1.4, and 1.2? I don't know.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? And this is a point that Jared Poland pointed out in a comment because I was talking about lenses and stuff like that, right? So in the whole field of lenses and talking about, Sony just came out with their 3 like super wide primes for the APS-C, which is, I think that's amazing. That's dope. And I was saying that like how Canon with their new bodies they need to release lenses that support that same thing. Hold up a second.
That's life, man.
Kid alert.
Yeah. Right. Okay, so Canon released bodies, and I'm like, they gotta release a glass. And Jared was saying that like Canon probably won't release too much glass. They'll depend on and they'll like lean on Sigma and Tamron to release glass for their APS cheaper glass. Like Canon will release expensive, f full frame lenses or whatever, and expect you to use that, and then they'll depend on Sigma to release like the. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess if they do it, that's fair. And so going back to Nikon, let's say Nikon wants to do 1.8 and 1.2 lenses, then Sigma and Tamron can be the ones that release the 1.4 versions if they're, because like again, I shot with that Sigma DGDN 1.4. Look, I was ready to trade in my 1.8 Nikon because I was like, yo, this Sigma is it. Like it was super sharp at 1.4. It was at 1.4, and it wasn't too big. It was nice and compact. Like, I mean, it performed really well for what it was. So I'm like, if Sigma is gonna do that, then all of the issues will be solved because Sigma makes quality glass. Like I won't say that they don't make trash lenses. Not anymore. They used to, but they don't anymore. Long as they focus.
The F mount 105 1.4 is $2,099. The Z mount 50 1.2 is $2,099. So it's the same price as the 105 1.4.
Okay, and they're not equivalent in focal
They're
length.
not equivalent, no.
But
And the 85 1.4 is $1,599 on the F mount.
okay, so let's just say that they would produce V mount 1.4 lenses. Would they be cheaper? Do you have to make them cheaper because they're 1.4 and not 1.2?
And there's
I
and
think
there's
it
a
depends
big
on the
difference.
quality of the lens.
Like Frame said, 1.4 to 1.8 to 1.2. There it is. I mean, for portraits, is how critical is that 0.2 of a stop? It's a lot of glass.
Well, if they keep saying that the 1.8 Z mount glass is as good as the 1.4 F mount glass, then maybe you argue that the Z mount 1.4 glass is as good as what 1.2 glass would be.
Well, okay, so as good as we can't,
But we don't have anything to compare.
well, what
Right.
I'm saying is you can't go there because I think all the lenses are going to be good. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
a matter of aperture. Is a 1.4 going to be less sharp than a 1.2? I don't think so.
Right.
No.
That's just
And
in
the
the
focus,
manufacturing of the
And
glass.
if you're going to tell me the bokeh is going to be a big difference between a 1.2 and a 1.4, I doubt it.
But the
I
focus
don't
point,
know.
Matthew
But
said,
here's one thing: you get more room to step down with 1.2 to get into a sweeter spot in the
Yeah,
glass if that's the case, stopping down. So you could shoot at 1.4 or 1.8 on that lens, and you've got a completely different lens that you're shooting with rather than the 1.8 version. So I don't know. I don't know. Is it clearly just going to boil down to maybe 1.4s would be cheaper? I don't know. And yeah, it's another topic that
is
1.4
Nikon
to
going to make a bunch of 1.4s?
Okay, so frames is saying 1.4 to 1.2 is a small upgrade.
Yeah.
1.8 to 1.4 is a big difference. Is there? I don't know, man. I can't say with surety that I can disagree or agree with that. I don't know. What say you, Ike?
What's up?
What say you?
The difference between 1.8 and 1.4, or like what's the
Yeah, yeah.
Hold on a second, let me type this to my
So here's another one too. Let's debunk this. The shallow depth of field at 1.2. It's too shallow. No, it isn't. It just depends on how you use the lens.
Yeah, I don't agree that it's too shallow. If you're like this close to the subject, maybe, but
Yes.
not like far
Not
away. There's
if you're
There's
far
a-
enough away.
there's
Depth of
an
field
argument
price.
for 1.2.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most of the Z glass right now is either 1.8 or 2.8. So I agree with frames. A 1.4 would be a good balance between performance and cost and size and weight versus a
Look here.
1.2.
I rented. Oh my God, this kid keeps coming in here.
I think that Megadap works with the Sony 200 to 600. I don't think there's a focal length limit to that adapter.
No, no, no. So what I was saying was I shot with the Canon 51.2s, and I was like, okay, I get it now. Sorry, 85 1.2 and the 51.2. But after shooting with that 85 1.2, I was like, okay, I get it. I understand why Canon people stick with Canon, because this lens is amazing. The quality, like the fall off, like just it was amazing. I'm a portrait shooter, so for portraits, you know, that 85 1.2 is something special. It is something special. And if you're a camera company and you're like, well, we can make a 1.4, we can make a 1.2, go for the 1.2 for the people who want to buy the gusto, and then make the 1.8 for the cheapies. Because my entire career, I've only owned 1.8 lenses. I only had one 1.4 lens, and that was a 50
I totally
because it
agree.
was affordable.
Yeah.
All of my other lenses, I have a 35 1.8, a 85 1.8. I even had a 50 1.8. And like, you really can't tell. Like when you look at the pictures on the screen, nobody's saying, "Oh, what aperture," but there are times where you just want a little bit more blur, and the more blur you can get, you know, the better. And so,
So that gets into another. That's a preference, and
hmm
why anybody picks on your preference or my preference is beyond me. But a lot of people start down the road of, well, who needs that kind of uh, bokeh? You don't need it or whatever. Whoa, wait a minute. You know, maybe some people find that they can use that creatively and they want it.
Right.
So
yeah,
or they,
exactly. And that I want to have the ability. I want to have the option to go down to 1.2, and it's there. Like whether I use it or not is totally up to me, but I at least want to be able to have the option to do it if it's there. And a lot of people don't even have the option. And like I said, when I shot with that Canon 85 1.2, I was like, oh, this is sick. Like this is sick.
yeah. So
Now,
man,
if you used the Nikon 1.2, the 50?
I've never used a Nikon 51, the manual focus. No. Oh, you mean the newest one that came out, the Z
Yeah,
one? No, I haven't
yeah.
used that one either. I haven't. No, I haven't played with that one yet. If I realize, I think if I'm gonna buy 1.2, I'm gonna wait for the 85.
yeah, and I'm doing the same thing. So we're talking two-thirds of a stop, the 200 over the 1.4 for portraits. I mean, yeah, I get it. You make good points here, Maz man. So what are we actually discussing? I think it's the fact that 1.4 may be cheaper. I don't know. Do we, we want, and I'll throw, let me throw Frame's uh, comment up here. We want 1.2s, but we need 1.4s. Uh,
I think
yeah,
anything better than 1.8 is gonna be a plus. Whether it's
yeah,
1.4, 1.2, anything that's better than 1.8 for the people who want the
Yeah.
ultimate in. So my argument is also with the 1.2 is if I'm competing with other people, if I want to set myself apart, if my lenses can go down to 1.2 and I get that extra shallow depth and you're stuck at 1.8, I'm going to use that as a selling point in my pictures, right?
right.
I'm going to try to set myself apart by creating images that you just can't create because you have physical limitations in your gear. And so back in the day, you have photographers who had the 51.2s and the 85 on Canon, and they're creating images that you just can't create on an 85 1.8. And so forget about lighting. You just it's not there's no trick. You can't make this kind of image. And so I believe in being able to just set yourself apart, even with just in the gear that you buy. And like I said, like Nikon can do 1.2 and 1.8, and then Sigma can do the 1.4, and everybody's happy.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess it just boils down to, well, one right now the only 1.2 we have is the 50 millimeter, and the other one that we expect is the 85 millimeter.
Hmm
So then, do all the 1.8s deserve a 1.4 version?
I feel like 1. I think if the option is to go 1.2, then I feel like skip the 1.4. That's just me.
Yeah, I think if you have 1.8, 1.4, 1.2, that's way too many lenses
Hmm
clumped together. Either do a 1.8 and a 1.4 and don't do the 1.2, or do a
Yeah,
1.8 and a
and a 1.2.
1.2 and don't do the 1.4.
I
But
agree.
don't do all three. Don't
Yeah.
do all three.
let's see, where was
They can't support all that inventory. That's just crazy.
Exactly. I think things need to be a little bit more concise.
Yeah.
Okay, right. But my counteract to that is, if I'm inside a wedding venue, which one am or if I'm inside like a room, which one am I more able to put out and use, right?
Yeah, well, the 200's got so much compression compared to the 85, and that makes a difference in your
That's
bokeh.
also, yeah, that's all. There's a visual
Yeah,
difference in a 200 compression
yeah,
versus a 85 1.2, and able to have to be able to have more than seen in your picture, but still have that. When I see people who do 200 f2 shots and they're like way down the street and they're trying to get the whole environment, the person's this big in the photo because you have to go so far back that the person shrinks the environment. Whereas if you had something like an 85 1.2, the person doesn't have to be that small. You can still see more of the person and more of the background, but still have, a decent amount of blur. So,
yeah. Jaspreet, I think Sigma. Let's say Sigma enters the lineup for Z mount, and they're producing a bunch of lenses. I think that Sigma is going to sell a lot of lenses regardless, whether they're 1.4, 1.2, 1.8, or whatever. Only because there's always going to be that price difference with third party that everybody's looking for. And you can't, does Nikon compete with third party lenses in pricing? That's a sure way to, lose revenue. So I don't know. I don't think they pick up the 1.4. Now, everybody that buys a 1.4, let's just say that Nikon produces the 1.285, okay? And Sigma, through licensing and everything else, produces a 85 1.4. Is everybody going to argue that the Sigma is just as sharp, just as good? Absolutely. That's called buyer's remorse if you don't. Okay, so they're going to make themselves feel better. Real world, will there be a difference? I don't know. But who knows? So I don't know what Nikon's going to do. Right now, they only have one 1.2 lens. The only other one that we expect is the 85. What else could we expect in the 1.2 range?
I'll tell
okay,
you though,
okay. So, wait, before you do that, the 1.4 they could make is a 35 1.4. I think a 35 1.2 is overkill. That Sigma 1.3 35 is monstrous. So I think a 35 1.4, if they can make the size, is manageable. But because we don't need a 35 or a 24 1.2, that's stupid too, in my opinion.
well, the ones that would love that would be the astrophotographers.
Yeah.
It would be nice for Nikon to come out and talk about why they chose to go that route. Maybe if the cost is the same regardless, then okay, then I'm all for it. Then make it a 1.2. Do you agree? Do you guys agree? If a 1.4 and a 1.2 were going to cost the same, which are you going to get? Which do you want?
1.2.
You get the one
Yes.
too.
So
Yeah.
why
we
not?
don't know. We don't know why Nikon went that route. I don't know. But there's going to be other there will be third party glass out there, and you're right, Jaspreet. There are going to be people that are going to buy it. It's just like Tamron lenses. For the longest time, everybody said, "Oh, the Tamron 24 or 70 to 200 is just as good." No, it wasn't until they made some revisions. But everybody said it. Why? Because it was cheaper and they owned it. So now,
I always say good enough. I won't say just as good. I say it's good enough.
yeah, good enough is a good answer.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, if the 85 comes out to be a 1.2, which everybody thinks it is going to be a 1.2 lens, and then I think that they will do more 1.2s because they'll now have two 1.2 lenses, and then I think they'll stick to the 1.2s. I think they won't do the 1.4s. I think they'll do the 1.2s.
I don't know, but it's an interesting conversation because we've never really tackled this bear. And even
Yeah,
looking at the lens lineup, we've never discussed it. But yeah, because Nikon did allude to, they didn't make a bold statement, but they alluded to the 1.8s are the new one, or the newer version or new 1.4 or whatever. They did. I remember
yeah.
hearing that.
The
When,
1.8s are as good as a 1.4, so why do a 1.4? Just do a 1.2.
Right. Yeah.
Then you can argue if Sigma did 1.4s, then Nikon could say, well, our 1.8s are as good as the Sigma 1.4, and it's less money or something. Who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to shut down here, Greg. Roy says fast glass is sexy, and it is. It is.
Yeah. The whole thing where mirrorless is going to be so much lighter than DSLRs and everything, and really, unless you're doing APS-C or micro four thirds, that's really no longer the case, is it?
Yeah. That's
Because
interesting.
once you got those larger flange mounts on the mirrorless cameras, which allowed you to do faster glass, then all of a sudden the size and weight benefits that everybody was saying was the reason to switch to mirrorless go away. Because now you're producing better glass, which is bigger and heavier, and the weight advantage now goes away.
Usually too, larger aperture means bigger, heavier glass,
Yeah.
but not always. Why is it Leica can get away with it, and faster glass, smaller size?
That is a great point. I was just like, bro, like, how they have a 0 point, I don't know, maybe because there's no electronics in it,
Well,
right? There's no
maybe.
autofocusing mechanism in it. And that's my guess, because those lenses, Nikon has a 51.2, but it's they're all manual focus now that I think about it. All of the smaller ones don't have autofocus mechanisms. Maybe that's it.
I don't know, but yeah, as far as weight goes, but why is it usually the front element in the large aperture lenses is so big, at least
I,
in Nikon and whatever?
there has to be they have to make sacrifices. So, I mean, the bigger glass, I think maybe, so the Nikon 51.2 is optically perfect. And so the byproduct of that is you get this humongous lens that's huge, right? But there are no flaws virtually.
Yeah, look at the
Well,
size,
yeah.
the 1.2 to the 1.8. I mean, it's 50 millimeter. It's a huge difference.
Is it the corrective elements that have to do with autofocus? Because in manual focus, I don't know. Learn me.
Right, it's the design of the lens and how many elements are in there, right? I mean, it's
Are there more elements in an autofocus
More
lens?
elements in the 1.2, you got more glass in it. And you're talking almost a $2,100 lens for a 51.2, a $2,100 lens versus a $600 1.8. So you're talking $1,300. Well, no, you're talking $1,500 more for the 1.2 glass versus the 1.8 glass.
right.
For the
The
50.
aperture is almost twice as big at the front. I mean, it's a big piece of glass to move to 1.2.
Yeah.
It's all about that
I
light
gotta-
refraction. How do they get it back to the bottom of the lens? So yeah,
I gotta step out. I gotta be dad.
All right, man.
I'm always dad. I gotta actually lend a hand.
All right. All right.
Let me tell you something. For somebody who's a little older than you, you're a dad forever, buddy.
Right? These kids, yeah, no, but I gotta
Never
run off,
goes
so
away.
All right, Ike. Hey, thanks for jumping in here, man.
no
Appreciate it.
problem.
You always bring a lot to the table, man. It's good.
Yep. See you later, Ike.
All right. All right. Hey, Frame's not picking on you, man. This has been a good conversation. And I know you said it you were talking about it in your video, is one of the reasons I brought it up. I who knows what the answer is or what the compromise is, but it's a good point, and we've never discussed this. Why no 1.4 glass? I think we all fell back on what Nikon indicated early on, that the 1.8 was as good as 1.4. Maybe they just said that because they didn't want to produce 1.4 lenses yet. I don't know. I will admit the 1.8 glass, that 51.8 is a great lens.
It's on sale.
As cheap as it is a great lens.
I'm looking at it right now.
Right.
$499.
$499.95, baby.
Yeah. And it's sharper than any 50 before it in F mount.
I've got the 52.8. And the 40 f2 is $250.
Oh man.
Choice.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to get the. I mean, I don't know if I'd want the 40 F2, the F2, although it's tempting, but I definitely think a lot about the 28 2.8.
Well, yeah,
SJ,
that's
I'm with you, SJ. It's an incredible lens. I think I haven't shot with it, but I've seen people using it, and it does look fantastic.
yeah, the 52.8. I love it, but if you're doing macro, nothing beats the 105. But the 50 is great because it's, if you have the 52.8, do you get the 51.8 or even the
Yeah.
40 f2? Choices.
I've got I can shoot 24 millimeter on I don't know how many cameras right now.
Where are we at?
Not all primes, but everything's 24 to something that I have.
You win the lotto, you buy every lens they make, right? And then you
Gross.
don't have to worry.
50 and 105.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, of course, that's probably I still think this is their sharpest lens Z mount ever made. I think right there is that 105 MC.
Yeah.
It is just razor tack
I
sharp.
was never a 50 millimeter focal length fan ever.
Right.
Even though I owned a 51.4, the old Nikon F mount 51.4. Never used it. Now, did I ever use it in my zooms? Yeah, I'm sure from time to time I may have crept around 50 millimeter. But when I picked up the 51.8 for mirrorless with my Z6, original Z6, I kind of fell in love with it all of a sudden. I don't know why.
So Frames likes the 40 f2.
A lot of people like that lens, and considering the price on it,
I'm gonna have to pull the trigger. It's a good fun around. I mean, I have the 28. I have the 52.8. But my 50 right now on this Z6 wasn't. I had to pull it back to the 28. It's a better angle, but oh man, gas. We got gas.
yeah, that's what conversations like this do.
Yeah, for that money, 249.95 for the 40 F2
You
is
can't go wrong.
it's like yeah, it's almost like
Ugh.
so cheap. It's like, gee, just buy it, buy it and be done with it. Just get it.
So Frame says there's something about the 40 millimeter focal length that's just right. Is that one of those, you just fall in love with it or something, Frames? Is that a personal, hey, I just like this focal length? And Greg Wilson, by the way, still waiting on his 800 millimeter.
I'll tell you, I don't know. I only know one person of many that ordered an 800 that actually got it, and it was someone who was NPS.
And did you
And
order?
he had already bought the 400 2.8, so he
Ouch.
probably, Nikon probably said, "Oh, this is one of our best customers. We'll send him an 800."
Yeah.
Jeffrey, you ordered one?
I'm on a list for an 800, but like I said, I'm very much waffling on whether I'm going to do it or not.
Well,
Frames, I didn't notice that. I was shooting at the wedding. I didn't have any issues with the AF on the 51.8, but maybe I was just fortunate. Shooting against the windows that, so everybody was backlit. Although I quickly turned them around because then they wanted a portrait, so I had to turn them around and use the window light. The 40 sounds interesting though, and I've said that from the beginning too. At that price, it's just one of those lenses, like you said, uh, Jeff. Especially right now. What is it? 249? You said
Yeah, 249.
it's just one of those
I mean,
things. Like, why don't I just get one?
and then if you get the non-SE version of the 28, and you get the regular one that's in black, and that's 249 for the 28 2.8 as well. So you can buy both those lenses for under $500.
There you go. Here's a dream: a Z lens at every 5 millimeter interval.
Yeah.
Then everybody could find the one they want.
You know what the problem is? People forget that they have this thing called legs that work and allow you to move closer or farther away.
Well, you know what? I still go back to I'm not a prime shooter for the most part. I like my zooms. I think the 24 to 70 is the greatest range ever developed in a zoom. And it it was one of those things the other night at the wedding. That was the perfect lens to have in there. Now, if Nikon could do a 24 to 70 f2, that would be fantastic. Like Canon did the 28 to 70, I think f2. Now, I'd be really interested in that focal range, the zoom range at f2. There you go. It's not a dream. Frames. That's a home wrecker strategy. You're kidding. Then would 5 millimeter make enough difference for me to say, well, I got to have the 55 too? Uh,
I mean, sometimes I thought about, I mean, I've never done astrophotography, and I guess if I ever wanted to try it, I mean, I would probably want to buy the 20 f 1.8 for something like that. And I think our friend there in Canada that does I haven't heard from him in a while. I know he's camping.
David
That does
Stewart.
the Aurora Borealis.
Yeah.
David
Um,
Stewart.
Yeah, David.
Astrophotography.
I think he uses the 20 millimeter quite a bit.
Yeah, but East Coast, Jeffrey, is horrible for astrophotography unless you go west.
Oh yeah.
I even have a big telescope. I rarely get it out because it's brutal.
Oh. All right, man.
So this must be a bad omen because I can't log into my Nikon account.
I had that problem for a year. I thought maybe they were picking on me.
Might have to go to Best Buy.
Okay. All right, guys. I think I am going to pull the plug on it here in a minute. I got to run for Mama, go get some stuff for her.
I hear you. Yeah,
You
I've got
can't
to pick
stop
up the process.
Can't stop the chat now. Yeah, I know, Frames. I know.
The John Young saying try the 14 to 30 f4, and it's like, yeah, I've thought about it, but I mean, I think what I don't like is all the distortion correction that gets done automatically with software. I think I'd rather have a lens that doesn't inherently have that much distortion, and maybe spring for the 14 to 24
That's
and
All right.
go.
1424 is amazing.
Yeah.
Chuck?
No, I'm not going to shut it down. Let me go. Let me go see if I can take care of this real quick, and I'll be right back. So you guys carry on. I'm not going anywhere, Frames. All right, I'll be right back.
I mean, the only thing I don't like about the 1424, and I guess if you're going to spend that kind of money on a lens, you shouldn't, excuse my language, itch about it without put the B in the front, is the cost of the filters.
Yeah, they've got an adapter, and then you slide in the big square ones. So you don't have to get the $200 full screw-on ones. You can get they've got some decent options. It's not that bad.
Yeah.
But it's that lens, it's amazing. It's and you're right though. If you're going to take a close-up of a car, the way outer edges are going to kind of bend a little bit. The way you got to frame it right, but wide angles and landscapes and other things, yeah, it's a huge piece of glass on there. It's beautiful.
I mean, the 14 to 30 is tempting, but like I say, everything I've read about it from a review standpoint is there's no doubt it gives you very good results once you go through your post-processing and you let the software fix all the distortion issues. But
Yeah.
I don't really feel comfortable that I'm relying on software to correct. I want a lens that's good from the get-go, not
Right.
not massaged into being good. You know what I mean? There's just something about that just kind of bothers me.
Yeah.
Now, Maz, man, you say you spent 600 in ND filters, but I'm sure you got all that money back when you sold some prints when you were down here shooting the birds with me. You probably got that $600 back, right?
So how's the park doing down there, Jeffrey?
Horrible.
Is it really? I mean, if you go down there any given morning, are you
I
not
go down there minimum twice a week, sometimes 3. And
what about west of there is a whole lot of parkland, but are there any trails?
There are some trails through the woods if you can survive the bugs.
Yeah. Wow.
I mean, that's the problem. You get those, well, down here they call them deer flies, and up north we call them horse flies.
Yeah.
But they're nasty, and they just go. They come after me all the time. That my friend could be next to me, they never bother him. They just bite me. they like me for some reason.
Something about the blood. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, well, I'm A negative, so I'm rarer blood type, so they must like me more. I don't know.
So the 40 millimeters sounds like a good street lens, huh?
Well, right now my favorite street lens is that 24 to 120 zoom f4.
Okay.
I think that is the lens I have in my kit that I enjoy the most.
Okay.
Have the most fun with when I'm not shooting birds. I mean, I just absolutely love that lens. And Mozman just, I think, if I recall, I think he picked up a 24 to 120 when he was down here visiting his dad before he went back home. I don't know if he's had a chance to use it yet or not.
Well, I've got the 24 to 200, and I love that lens. I mean, it does really well. So I'm like 24 to 120, but better f-stop. There's just too many choices.
Yeah, it's. I try to overlap my lenses a little bit, but not too much,
But yeah, I like the long lenses, man. I've got the Nikon 200 to 500 f mount, and then the Sigma 150 to 600, which I've been using a little bit more lately. I took that out this morning. Hopefully that worked out good, but I think the 800 is the way to go. And if you get the 500 PF, then you're down $3,500. That's half the 800. And an 800 Z lens, by the time I save up for it, maybe they'll actually be in stock. I don't know.
Yeah, there's only been a few places where, to be honest with you, I felt that I got the 500 PF, and there's only been a few places where I wish I had the 800, where the 800 would have worked well, but it's not something that I would be using. Like with the 500, I could put it on and say, I'm just bringing the 500 with me today, and that's it.
Right.
C9 500, carry it around, half the day, no problem.
Right.
And sometimes I got to back up a little bit. Hey, that's okay. I'll back up a little bit. Maybe I'll have a bag and I'll throw my 100 to 400 in there.
Right.
And then I'm covered completely, and once in a great while, it's like, I'd like the 800, but then I could sit there and I could just say, I'll switch to DX mode on the 500,
True.
And I'm at 750. Close enough.
I'm kind of in that dilemma. What do I do? I mean, the 400 2.8 is way out of reach. The 600 is going to be crazy.
That's going to be even worse.
800 at that price point, it's wow. I mean, I have the 200 to 500. I use that a lot. The 600 is awesome too, but man, Z lens 6.3, 800. The one place where I go to shoot eagles, they're out there, and almost everybody out there's got the 600 f4. But when they come in close, you're not going to get them. But I don't know, man. 800 6.3 just sounds so tempting.
I when I'm spending that kind of money, I have to think, and everybody's going to be different. I have to think about my use case. I got to think, okay, what circumstances am I going to use this in?
Yeah.
and how often am I going to use it? And if I'm not going to use it a lot, I might be better off putting a 1.4 telly on the 500, or
Right.
switching to the the DX mode for the few times that I need that
Yep.
little bit extra.
Yeah, it's a trade off, and when you put a
Yeah.
teleconverter on the 200 to 500, you've got wobble problems. And what's that?
No, you need that 800 to carry around, man. That's clout. You're somebody.
I'm seeing good handheld shots from that 800. I mean,
Yeah. Right, but it's not handheld. It's not handheld for. I can walk around and shoot handheld with my 500 for 5 hours at a clip, and I'm not sore.
Yep. But right,
I don't know if I could do 5 hours with the 800 and not be sore.
I go out for a couple hours, or I'm going to put
maybe
that
a couple hours
on the gimbal.
Yeah.
But the 200 to 600, that's where the heck is that lens?
Not true, Greg. The 1 to 400 is available right now. I don't know for how long, but several people have it in stock if you want the 1 to 400.
Well, it's not Nikon USA, Chuck. It's got to be somewhere else.
It was on B&H this morning. It was available.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that's almost half the 800.
Yeah, I mean they're saying the 24 to 120 is not available in the US right now, but I don't know if that's true or not.
It was this morning, and I know another shop that has it available too. Picture Line had it available.
See, what we got to do, guys, is we got to get rich and famous so that when we go to shoot, we can hire someone to carry all our gear
Yep.
for us.
Well, it won't be from YouTube for me, that's for certain. But
I mean, that's the magic, right? You got to be some world-renowned photographer, and you have a staff. You got the person you hand your card to and say, "Okay, do your minutia, do what I need you to do on the software side, and get the pictures ready for me." And then you have your big printer in your basement, and you make your own prints. And
I can say the same thing here on live stream. I need a Steven to actually do this for me. A lot of the stuff.
Frames,
and videos.
Frames has a good question there. When I go on a trip, I love that 24 to 200. I mean, it covers all my bases.
I don't limit myself. I carry way more than I'll need. Why? Because if I want it, I'll have it available. I know that can be an issue, but
right.
I'm not carrying it around on my body all day long. I have it strategically placed somewhere.
Right. Well, it depends on your trip. If you're going with family, I'm not bringing a lot of gear, but every time I go and I don't have my camera, I'm like, wow, if I just had my camera right now. So even the Z9.
That's a tough question, man. There's just so much that you want to carry. I mean, it was like going to the wedding the other night. I'm not a primary shooter. I'm just going with a camera, knowing that I'm going to aggravate a photographer that's shooting it. And I tried my best not to do that. So I didn't carry a whole lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you're primary, at a wedding, I don't know. We can ask Vahagan what all he carries too. But I'll tell you, I'm carrying everything just because if there's a situation that warrants moving to a different focal length, I'll have it available.
True. I mean, yeah. But when I go birding, man, I grab that one lens and I go if I'm just walking. But if I go up to the Eagle place, I bring tripods, the everything. It's good stuff.
Yeah,
everybody's waiting on this lens.
Yeah,
I'll order that right now. If they announce it tomorrow, click.
So the question is, and here we go back to, if you buy it, it'll be the greatest lens. It'll rival the 600 IV. It will guarantee you. Everybody's going to say that, and I think this is where Ike's, made the statement, and he's absolutely right. It's good enough,
right?
And I think that's what we have to settle for when we buy, something like a 2 to 600 versus a 600 f4.
Right.
And the fact that it's probably going to be, $14,000 cheaper,
right,
or somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah, I mean the 600 f4, the 600 range is typically the ideal birding focal length, but at 16 grand or whatever they're going to charge, it'll probably be 16 grand. If the 400 2.8 is 14, and Now you throw a 1.4 telly on that 600, it's going to be 16 grand. So I mean that rules me out like in a millisecond. It's like no way, can't do it.
Yeah. And money is an issue, and that's why I think a lot of people will say, "Oh, it's just as good," or whatever. It's close
Well,
enough. Uh,
I'm realistic enough to know it's not as good, but it's like, is somebody really going to be able to tell the difference
and then
when
we
I
go
print it?
into what am I shooting for? You know, am I shooting for Nat Geo? No, I'm not. You know, if I'm using a super tele like that, especially a zoom, no, but it's good enough. And you know who makes that case on zooms are at times good enough? Morton Helmer.
Yeah.
He's not
Yeah.
opposed to shooting a zoom. Mostly higher end zooms though, like the 2 to 400 or the 180 to
Yeah.
400. But still, you know, a lot of pros will say, well, that's a compromise.
Yeah. That old 200 to 400 was a big lens. Is a big lens.
Yeah.
But man, it's options, right? I mean, the 200 to 600 be around what, two
Well,
grand maybe?
yeah. And, you know, here's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, right now, Nikon has a plethora of 24 millimeter lenses, and I include the zooms, you know, and, but each one is for a different person. And I'm glad that there are that many. But Becky said the other day on their stream that maybe Nikon could back away from the 24 millimeter range
Right.
right now.
Don't make any more. You
Yeah,
know?
right.
Yes.
We're good. We're
More
good.
PF options. But if you have the 200 to 600 and then the 800 PF, you're done. Go birding. What more do you need?
Frames, check WhatsApp. If you're going to be in here chatting with us, you might as well be on the show. You have the link.
Yep. And Mozman, check out the Vanguard bags. Those are really nice. I've got a big wheelie bag, and it's built like a tank.
Oh, here we go. Yeah, the biggest news in the world right now, with everything going on, is
20
the
minutes?
case.
I have not followed that for 30 seconds because the way I look at it, it does not affect my life in any way, and I
Yeah.
don't care.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, hey, Maz, I have the airport roller. It's a great bag. It really is. You know, I don't know if that's what I would be carrying out to the park and everything with me. Maybe the Pelican case, the 1610, I think. So at least it's a hard shell, and for all different environments you may be in. But as
Definitely
far as
so.
going indoors, yeah, that airport roller is fantastic. And I also have the oh shoot, the Think Tank. What's the other brand that falls under Think Tank?
Don't say
Mind Shift.
grits.
Mind
My-
Shift. Yeah, the grits bag. I got the grits bag.
The grits bag?
Yeah. That thing is fantastic, man, and I can carry more in there than I want to carry for a day out. You know, I mean, you're not carrying the 600 f4 and you know a bunch of other lenses,
Yep.
but you can carry the 600 f4 in there with a few
Yep.
other lenses. Believe it or not.
Good points, Jeff and Leslie. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the right place, the right time, and half the time with birding, it's luck. I mean, my best
Well,
shot.
you have to sometimes you have to make your own shots and you have to look
Right.
for your own shots and you need to be mobile. And when you gotta, I tell you, I see these guys come in with, you know, $1,000 plus tripods with
Yep.
600 f4s or 800s mounted, camouflage all over everything. They set it up on the sidewalk, which you know they could either face the marsh or face the pond. And I've seen them there, and 10 minutes later they say, there's nothing here, let's go.
Yeah.
So you've got $25,000 worth of shit on,
Right.
gear on you.
Right.
You wait 10 minutes and you go, nothing here. And then 5 minutes after they leave, that's when the
Boom.
eagle comes by with the fish. And I'm like, well, I got it. And
Yep.
you suckers that couldn't stay more than 10 minutes with your 30K and stuff lost the
Yep.
shot.
I totally
And I love it.
agree. Yep. I'll see 30 of those 600s lined up. I'll
Yeah.
pull back my 200 to 500 or 200 just as that bird gets us right down at the bottom of the water, and they're still going like this. I can't find it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to be patient. It's
I,
patience.
I can attest to this. Talking about the airport roller. Sorry, guys, we can keep two topics going at once. We're that good. But I've had one incidents where the airlines refused to let me carry it on my airport roller, uh, and it fit. It met all their requirements other than weight. Thank goodness they didn't pick it up. But and I know that it fit in the carrier, or the airplane that I
Right.
was getting ready to board, because I flew the same airplane to that airport when I went out to Salt Lake City. However, you'll encounter some people that are just going to stand their ground and fight you over it. But then I won the battle because I had a bunch of lithium ion batteries in it, and I said they weren't removable, and I couldn't carry all that stuff in my pockets. So they relented. But yeah, it will fit in even the overhead on a commuter jet. It might be tight, but it will fit, and it meets all their size requirements too.
Yeah, batteries are a problem.
But it is nice to pull that behind you with the backpack sitting
Yep.
on top of it that I strapped to it through the airport. A whole lot better than carrying a duffel bag or something.
Just don't fly. Get in the minivan.
Yeah, yeah, yes, that's the version.
Airport
Even
international.
even they warn you to call the airlines beforehand, but there's no need in calling the airlines. They'll tell you one thing, and then the gate agent will tell you something different. Hey, I've had this idea for a while. I actually saw it on F Stoppers, who I don't watch much anymore at all. But toying with making my own card for photography as a photographer. And there are ways that you can do this with QR codes and everything. Just putting your name of your channel, or if you are a working photographer, the name of your portfolio or website or whatever on it. And because, believe it or not, some airports, or quite often, they recognize that card, when not recognize you or whatever, but they recognize you more as a commercial photographer when you have a card to present. The QR code can point directly to your website, channel, or whatever. And I've been toying with the idea of having one of these made. Have any of you tried that or done it?
A friend of mine just bought one for me. Not the cut. Well, you could get it in the card format, but it's the dot. They call it the dot, and I
Yeah.
could tap. I'll hold it up here. It's right there,
Yep.
and I could just tap my phone on somebody else's phone, and my YouTube channel and all the information I want to share, my email, phone number, whatever I put in there, will go right into their contact list, and they could tap a button and watch my channel from their phone whenever they want.
That's cool. I like that. I'm gonna have to check. You got any
So
information on it?
it's just go on dot.com, and I think this dot, which is the dot classic, there's no fees. It costs you $20.
Hmm.
And you set all that up. And now when somebody says, because sometimes you're not carrying a business card on you in your wallet or whatever, and someone says, well, I'd like to watch your channel, whatever, you say, well, put me on your contacts. You see your phone, you just go boop,
Yeah.
puts it all on their phone. They got all the information. Works great.
Yeah. We are in the digital age, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I saw something similar to that a while back using the QR code thing, so that your business card, just carry it digitally.
Yeah,
That
well, they have that too. Like if
Yeah.
somebody, let's say they don't have you could click a button on the app on your phone, and then you could make a scannable code come up, and then they could take a picture of it with their camera, and then it'll open up to your page as well.
Well, I'm getting ready to try something. There's another motocross national up here in Massachusetts coming up in July, and you have to have some credential from a publication with their reach and everything else to get credentials to shoot the motocross event. But I'm going to try. I'm going to make AP Studios appear to be a credible organization and see if that's going to fly because I'd really like to shoot that. But,
Make your own press pass, Chuck.
well, that's what I was talking about before.
Right.
You know, as
Yeah.
an independent photographer, you can do that. And a lot of airports that they'll not hassle you so much because you can travel with expensive equipment. They recognize photographers.
Make up a couple shirts with your logo going across
Yeah,
above your pocket or whatever.
yeah. So, what do folks at home think about my shows, and how do they react to me talking into a mic for hours? Well, I wish I had the wife down here, but she's actually working while I'm down here running my mouth for hours on a microphone.
What's the
Um,
record, Chuck?
huh?
What's the record length?
Maz pointed that out to me. I was
Yeah,
wrong.
Mosman knows what it is.
Yes, it's 4 hours and I think 20 minutes or something like
Yeah.
that. That's the record.
Yeah, I think people love it. They love the long, get in and chat. I mean, it's only you've got it twice a week.
Yeah.
I've got one.
Yeah, I think they do too. Most people do, but like I said, I have received a couple of emails with people talking about it's too long, and I don't understand how. I don't know what. I don't even again. I don't know how to respond to that. How could it be too long when you can just hit end, and you're gone? But maybe they feel like they're missing out on some of the chats later on or something. I don't know. But
Yeah, we do take left and right turns.
oh yeah, oh yeah, we're all over the place. I think that's another thing that makes it fun too, though.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, it's
my
hard.
wife doesn't care because she's working right now. But like when we do the Saturday night show, she can't wait up for me. She goes to bed. I crawl in bed. She says, "Well, what time is it this time?" I go, "Don't worry about it. Go to sleep."
There you go, FOMO. Leave it to Mozman to find an acronym. That works. Oh man. Oh.
So now it's too hot to go birding, Jeff.
Oh, when I went out the other day, I was only out for 2 hours, and the humidity had kicked in, and I think we got there at 6:30, and we left by 9 o'clock. We couldn't
Wow.
handle it anymore. We were soaking wet, uncomfortable. Said, "Nah, we got some decent stuff." So he says, "We got some good shots. Let's just go. Let's go and have breakfast." We went into some nice air conditioned comfort and had a meal, and then went home.
But the
Thanks,
Z9
John. I
Z9
appreciate
didn't
it.
stutter, did it?
No.
Let's see. Do you have to pay to stream your program? How does it work? Okay, so here's how it works. You have to pick up one of the. Well, you don't have to. You can use OBS, but I hate OBS. It spits at me when I try to use it, and that's the free and easy, cheap way to go. It will do everything, or almost everything, that these new platforms do. But the easiest way to do it, however, there is a cost uh, to using StreamYard or Restream.
Right.
So it's a one time, I say it's one time, it's not. It's a monthly actual purchase plan, but you can pay for the year in advance. Sometimes you get a better rate doing that. I was fortunate. I started doing this with just YouTube, which you can do free of charge. However, you're limited in what you can do on YouTube alone. You can't stream to any other platforms via YouTube without using OBS and all the other issues. But with Restream, which I use, StreamYard is what Vahagan's using, which they're very similar. It runs in the browser, so there's nothing to download. You just pay your whatever fee for the year or monthly, and then they have a free platform. Restream does, and I'm sure StreamYard does too. However, you're limited to 720p in your live stream. To get to HD or 1080, you have to purchase one of the plans above the free plan.
They tease
So
you.
Yeah, absolutely. They do. So I tried the free. It worked easy, but I didn't like the idea of doing the stream in 720p because it does make a difference. There is a difference, obviously. So anyway, right after Christmas or somewhere in there, right around Christmas, Restream did a big promotional push, and basically you could get your first year streaming for half price,
Oh, that's
and I
good.
jumped on it. Now, what does it cost a year without any promotions or anything? It's about almost $500 a year. So yes, there is cost involved if you're using one of these pay for play stream platforms.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty solid though.
yeah, I get the chat over here. So everybody can follow the chat. I can have as many guests as I want on. Well, I say as many, up to 9 plus myself. So 10 total people on at one time. And I can stream to multiple platforms, which I do. I stream to my Facebook page and another Facebook page that I have.
And that's what I
So,
was going to ask. How does it get into YouTube?
well, because I stream to YouTube also. Sorry, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, so I have uh, basically three platforms I'm streaming to: two Facebook pages and my YouTube page. Now, the nice thing is that after I finish these streams, YouTube just rolls it over into a video, and it takes a few minutes to
Yeah.
do that, especially when you're 3 hours or 4 hours long. But you get all the chat and everything real time when you go back and
Yep.
rewatch it. And there are people that do. I'm so surprised, but there are people that do and go back and rewatch it. And my next step is, and I need Stephen to help me out with this, and that's to put the markers at the bottom of the actual
Uh,
video once it's rolled over. And then I think it'd be more convenient for people. They can skip past the stuff they don't care about. But think about it, as you said earlier, James, with as many topics as we cover and back and forth, can you
right.
imagine all those markers at the bottom of that video?
It'd be a
Be a
solid
solid
line.
bar, solid bar.
I would have to generalize and say, hey, just jump in this segment and hang on, or something like that. But yeah, that's actually how it works. I do like the platform; it's working well, except for the other day when we got a blue screen, and I was pulling my hair out thinking it was me, and it wasn't. It was
Right. Not your
Restream, but
fault.
they remedied it very quick, so I was happy about that. So anyway, that's the platform I'm using. And you don't want to see the octopus of wires, cables, and everything I've got here running the computers, the monitors, the, Roadcaster Pro for audio, and everything else. I don't even know if I could set it up again. If somebody came in and just disconnected everything, it would take me a week to figure it out again.
Well, you got to move soon, Chuck.
Yeah, you're gonna have to label the each end of every cable before you move.
Yeah, and I've done that, but now I've swapped them so many times in a hurry to remedy a problem that none of them are what they say they are. Uh, so Roadcaster, by the way, just announced their latest Roadcaster Pro 2, which of course I'm jonesing for. But anyway, I'll stick with my original Roadcaster for now. I would like to have an opportunity to have people actually here in the home sitting around the table, and I've got mics and everything to do that, and have actually three guests in here on microphones at the same time with the live stream. So maybe that's something in the future. And Greg, thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's what makes it worthwhile. That's what keeps me doing it, is just the fact that I'm having fun and everybody else is. If everybody wasn't having fun, then it wouldn't be any fun for me, and that would be the end of AP Studios. But it's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad you guys enjoy it. I know it's an opportunity for a lot of people to get together that wouldn't normally and chat even in the chat room, or everybody has an opportunity, and I say that all the time. If you'd like to be on the show as a guest, just send me an email and we'll make that happen. I know maybe a how-to live discussion. Yeah, that would be good, Roy. I agree. Maybe I can do that. So I'm just now playing with Final Cut Pro. I actually put that video that you watched earlier, put it together. Nothing special, just to show the video out of camera. which means that I have no more excuses for not producing some videos. And I want to produce some 5 to 8 minute videos on, small subjects or whatever, and just test the waters and see if anybody would be interested. And I don't need the allegiance, liking just because I put it out there. I would really want some feedback. But I think one of the things, and somebody brought it up yesterday in Vahagan's stream, is there are plenty of how-to videos out there on lighting and everything else, and you can go back and search. And there are some new ones, but sometimes it's nice to have the latest, freshest face talking about maybe shooting with speed light on camera and being able to take it off camera. And if I can put that into a 5 to 8 minute video, there may be some people that find that interesting and helpful. So I am going to do things like that. Uh, Another thing that was brought up was to do some critiquing. Have folks send in photos and go through a photo critique. And to me, that's difficult because what you're going to get from me, yes, there are obvious composition issues and things like that, or exposure issues, but sometimes even that becomes part of the creative process and strikes me as
Oh, Chris.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
like,
Chuck.
no. So I don't know that I would be the best critiquer because more than likely it's going to be, well, I really like that, and maybe a few reasons why, or I'm not, I don't care for that. I wouldn't say I don't like it. It's just not my cup of tea, is the way I would look at some photos. But so that's a possibility. And I've seen the comments have been rolling over here. Mozman, how to stream for 3+ hours. Well, if you want to do it the right way and you're my age and you drink 2 pots of coffee a day, you get some Depends and you're not away from the keyboard so often.
Well, we just hit
Uh,
3 hours.
you just hit 3 hours. All right, great. But yeah, you know what makes it easy is you all. Again, the guest, you all, because you're the guest as well. And you guys keep me going, man. I can't keep up with you. And that's a good thing. And I'm just glad that you guys enjoy chatting with each other over there. And I've said this before, and I truly mean it. I learn as much from you guys in the chat as I do anywhere else.
Time
Greg's
flies when
getting,
you're having fun.
yeah. Uh, so, and I have some guests that I said I'm going to have in here. So we all are not going to be, these debates on this, that, or whatever. But this time of the year, everybody's busy, and I've had several people tell me that they just, can't get away from what they're doing. But and I actually have reached out to a couple of people in different genders like this. You're talking about types of lighting, studio, close-up photojournalism, portraits, headshots, sports, documentaries, street travel. So I have, and I would encourage you guys to go over and check him out. Oh shoot, Sean. What is it? Sean. It's not Contrell. I can't remember his last name. Sean Cameron. I'm sorry. He's a Brit, and I love his content. He's just got a great attitude, and he's fun to listen to. And he's agreed that he would come on the show. So we're going to make that happen here about the middle of this month when he's less busy. And Eric Bowles, who Ronald Pollard's mentioned, he said he'd love to come on the show, but he's out shooting in Tetons right now. But as soon as he finishes that up, he said he'd be willing to come on. And that is related to a lot of the things we talk about because he shoots everything he shoots with a Z7 II, and I think the 1 to 400. That includes birds, wildlife, sports, you name it. So I think he'd be an interesting guy to come on here. His portfolio is beautiful. So there you go. That's the rundown and everything I'm looking at. And of course, you guys have made changes to this show, believe it or not, in your comments you made that I've received in emails and stuff, except for shortening the live streams. That's the one I haven't implemented. So uh, there you go.
And no one has made you eat grits live.
That's right. That's right. And it's a good thing because, again, I'm not a grits fan. I grew up in the South, but I'm not a grits fan. Uh, all right. 2 pots of coffee. Roy, uh, man, that's a good question. I don't know. My wife
That's
can't
a lot.
believe how much, and we've been together forever, and she can't believe how much coffee I actually drink in a day. I don't know. Everybody's got to have a vice, right? And there you go. Thanks, John. I appreciate that. Again, likes are always motivators for me. I'm not in this to be a million subscriber channel, but if something strange happens and down the road that's the case, I think it takes away though from the being able to interact with so many people. But we'll deal with it when it happens, if it ever happens. Monetization would be nice, but that's not something I'm striving for. I'm really looking for more capability within YouTube, and YouTube allowing me to do more things. And that's at the 500 subscriber mark, which I'm actually striving to get to. All right, what else you guys want to know?
The verdict.
Yeah, Mosman just said a woman was just gored and tossed by a bison at Yellowstone National Park. Makes me think of the other day. I was shooting a video of an alligator coming. I didn't understand that. My phone likes to talk to me for whatever reason. Stupid thing. Um, an alligator was coming out from a pond and crossing over a walkway to freshwater. And I've been shooting here long enough where I know where all the openings are, where all the gators cross, and I slowly walk towards those openings and peek my head around the corner. And we saw a gator that was thinking about crossing. So we backed off, and I says, well, I'm going to wait. Me and like two other guys are waiting for the gator to cross. And it's starting to come up. I could kind of like see its nose, and this lady is trying to just walk through us. And I said, don't walk any further. A gator is ready to cross the road. You don't want to get in its way. But,
Lunch.
she would have got plowed down or who knows what. But, people that aren't familiar, they could get hurt pretty easy. They're just not aware of what's going on and what these gators do and what their habits are. And I got it on film crossing the walkway and going on to the other side. But accidents can happen really, really easy, but some people make it easier for themselves to get in an accident.
It's typically
Hey, Gregory,
a people
thank you
problem.
very much. We do keep it real here. If we just used absolute facts and whatnot, it'd be less interesting and a whole lot shorter. But the whole point of this is for opinions and everything. We throw it all on the table. So I'm glad you like it. All right.
Tossed 10 feet in the air after getting close to female bison on boardwalk. Ouch.
No, these people do it to themselves. You see, and they get out of their cars and then they get right on top of them for the shot. They don't have a proper lens on their camera. They're like, I only got a 50 millimeter on my camera. I got to get closer to get the shot.
Hey,
well, you're a stupid idiot. You deserve to get gored by the bison.
What's the phrase? Natural selection. There you have it.
Yeah.
RS said it. Yep.
Oh,
Out the week. Oh, good job.
There you go.
Yeah. Another happy customer.
Yeah. When you wait that long to get it, you almost cry when it shows up at the door.
Yeah, they do. Absolutely, Moz, man.
And Moz, man, that's only if you have a buddy with you. As long as you run faster than your buddy.
No, you just have to push them down to the ground before you run.
What if you're carrying that 600 F4?
you just say, well, you're the one taking it for the team today.
Yeah, we can say all day long about it is terrible that somebody gets hurt or even killed, but how do you, it's not like they don't know. I mean, honestly, it's just an excuse to say, well, maybe they didn't know. No, no, not in this day and age. They know that animals are dangerous and you shouldn't mess with them, but yet they do. There you go, snapping turtles, and
Exactly.
I have those here. Yeah, you don't want, especially an old alligator snapping turtle, especially.
No.
You don't want him getting a hold of you. The old saying used to be, I heard this as a kid growing up, they won't, you can cut their head off and they won't release
Yep.
their grip until the sun goes down. I think it's just an old wives' tale, but yeah, you don't want that. That's for sure. Good.
Yeah. I hear the same thing when I was a kid, and I used to catch snapping turtles. It was if one bites you, like you just said, cut the head off, the mouth will stay on you. You got to go to the hospital, and they got to inject it with something, and then it'll relax its grip, and you can get it off your arm. But that could all be just a very good story, but I never had to prove it.
Exactly, Moz, man. That's why Jeff needs to get that 800.
I want one.
I do too. Don't take wildlife pics with a 14 to 30. Exactly, John.
Or a cell phone.
Or a cell phone. Yes.
Yeah.
Selfie.
Yeah.
I got to get closer. I got to get closer.
Oh, who knows? Maybe she got that picture of herself getting gored, and it's on her phone right now.
You know what? And chances are real good she wasn't by herself. So I blame anybody that was with her for letting her do it too. So
Yeah, I mean
yes,
they have signs posted everywhere. It's just ignorance, or the fact that
Yeah.
people just everybody nowadays seems to just want to ignore the norms, ignore anybody telling them something to do. It's like it doesn't apply to them.
well,
So,
and then add to that, it won't happen to me. And
yeah.
there you have it. It won't happen to me. Guess what? You're the next YouTube video, viral video.
All our friends run fast. So it's
Yeah.
sad.
Oh man. Did Frames must have been working on something. He just had us on in the background listening to us. Is Frames gone?
Yeah, he
Mr.
had that
Frames.
one comment. I mean, it's good that Canon's producing those cameras. I don't
Yeah.
think we don't have a problem with that.
Nope, not at all.
No,
Not at all.
I mean, more the merrier.
Yep, absolutely. Let me send this link. I forgot all about this.
Here's a funny story from you when you talk about foolish people. I'm on this path, and we're taking pictures of the birds, and the nesting or whatever in the branches, and I see this young woman, like probably a good 50 yards away at least, and she's like leaning over the edge of this walkway, like looking into the into the woods or into the swampy water. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll take a walk up there and see what she's looking at. Maybe there's something worth taking a picture of. So I walk up there, and what do I find is her boyfriend is walking in the swamp with just, sandals on, walking in the swamp almost up to his knees, looking for poisonous snakes. And he says, "Oh, I love to catch poisonous snakes and harass them." And I was so stunned that I couldn't even say anything. The guy eventually walks out. He did not get the snake. And then I turned around and walked the other way, and he ended up being behind me with his girlfriend. And then he asked somebody else, "Gee, have you seen any poisonous snakes around here?" And then a lady says, "Well, yeah, down around the bend, there was a copperhead laying on the ground underneath a tree over there." He says, "Oh, thanks a lot. I'm going to go over there and harass it."
But
So, you just sit there. I mean, I couldn't even talk. I couldn't even say anything.
I think this comes with age because when I was younger, I was the idiot in the swamp looking for poisonous snakes. I was doing a lot of things I shouldn't have been doing. But with age, I realize now, and it's not something that I would let my kids or grandkids do, but
Yeah.
but it's a good thing they don't know what I did because I'd never have any pull when it comes to the conversation of why you don't do it. So yeah,
No, I mean, I caught snapping turtles, and I would sell them to people that would make soup out of them.
yeah, yeah.
And I would catch snakes, and I got in trouble one time because I didn't necessarily, other than garden snakes or garter snakes in the Northeast, I had caught a black snake in a swamp, and I didn't think anything of it, and I put it in an aquarium tank, and I took it to school for show and tell, and this was when I was in middle school. And then my parents immediately got a phone call because I had captured a water moccasin, which is poisonous, and brought it to school. So my dad got an earful about his son who brought a poisonous snake to school in an aquarium tank. So,
Yeah.
hey, I didn't know it was poisonous. I just caught it like any other snake and put it in the tank and took it to school and thought it would be neat, but
But did you
got in
get
a
a
lot of
picture?
trouble.
Did you get a
No,
picture?
no picture. No
So here
picture.
you go. Here you go. If you want to know about snakes, alligators, buffalo, or anything else, what other photography channel are you going to get that on?
Yeah.
We can talk about everything, and
Uh,
usually do, and usually do.
Don't say grits.
Yeah, don't say grits.
no, no.
Oh man, but yeah. All right, guys, I am going to pull the plug.
It's getting thin.
When we get down to talking about Buffalo and Johnny Depp and things like that, I think that's it. Our conversation is just about out. But after 3 hours and 16 minutes, it should be.
Yeah.
Uh, Walking the swamp in sandals is a Darwin hat trick. Yeah, absolutely, Moz man. All right, guys. So here's the deal.
Yep.
I'm going to pull the plug, but Saturday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, we'll be on again. And I don't know who's going to be in here with us, but invitations will go out. And for those that want to join, by all means, join. I hope you'll all join us. I know that it's summertime and a lot of people aren't going to be hanging around the house on Saturday night in front of a computer. I understand that. So if you've got things to do with the family or go out and do, obviously go do it and enjoy it. But I appreciate everybody that does show up. Coming up, I can't give you the names of the folks that's going to be on Photography Talks, but I think he put that out yesterday. Some of these all the other people, I have subscribed to some of the channels of my subscribers because they have content, and I really enjoyed seeing what they had to show, uh, and I'll continue to do that. For all you that subscribed in the last few days, thank you very very much, and for all you that come on as guests, I encourage you to share the live stream on your page, which you can do if you have a page, and that kind of helps us both out. This is growing a little quicker now than it was. I think it's because all of you talking about it, and I look forward to see how it's going to progress over the next year. With that said, I'll turn it over to Mr. James for his outro. Nope, you're muted or something.
Yeah. Background noise. Sorry. Yeah. This is my
That's all right.
first one. First one I started and finished. So yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody. Great talk. Fun to just have at it with everybody. All the questions and information is always amazing.
All right, thanks,
Yeah.
James, and thanks for being in here, Mr. Jeffrey Neville.
Hey, thank everybody for joining Chuck's channel as usual. We see a lot of the same names, which is great, but we're seeing new ones as well. So it's great to have everybody participating, and we always have a good time. And it's fun to get off topic. We all like to do that every once in a while, and we do it more than every once in a while on Chuck's channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
Jeffrey, plug your channel.
Selective Imagery is my channel, and it's mostly kind of a documentary style approach once a week, along with a segment called Photos of the Week. So I pretty much just do 2 videos a week. I'm going to keep it to that. And hopefully you check me out and, throw out some suggestions or comments as you wish. I'm not afraid of criticism. So you have any good ideas to throw at me or things I could do better, let me know.
All right. And I encourage you, go over there and check out his channel. It's very relaxing. It reminds me of Mr. Bayou Josh. I watch his content because it kind of relaxes me, his style. So same thing with you, Jeffrey. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks a lot.
All right, Greg says get out and go shooting. I encourage that too. Absolutely.
Yeah.
If you got gear that's been sitting around collecting dust, me, get out and find some time to take some photos. And we're going to start doing that too. For those that would like to share a particular photo or whatever in the stream, I will open that up. If you want to email me a photo that you'd like to show in the stream, we won't have a particular stream where we just do that. But if you send me a photo, I'll make sure that we get it in the show. And you can talk about, how you captured it, why you captured it, and everything else.
Yeah, great idea.
All right, folks. So everybody out there, I hope you have an enjoyable rest of the week. Until Saturday night, we'll meet again for some more rip roaring
Grits.
chat. All right. Sorry we didn't get Vahagan in here today, but I know he's busy with a couple of things, and we miss you, Vahagan, if you're just listening, and hopefully you'll be in here on the next go around. Well, that said, everybody in the chat, thank you so much. It was another great show. And again, it's all about you all. All right, folks, God bless you. And I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you Saturday. Bye-bye.